What is up, everybody? Welcome to day 2 here in the RSL. I'm Tasteless, and once again, joined with me is State. How you doing, man?
Feeling excited. Day 1 of RSL was an absolute blast, and now we're going to find out who's going to be joining Maru and Shin in the playoff bracket here as we go into Group B. I'm thrilled to get into this, man.
I'm excited. It's going to be a very Protoss-heavy group. We do have Reynor as the Zerg. Of course, Astrea, Classic, and SOS. All these guys going to be battling it out. 2 will move on, 2 will go out.
Yeah, and I feel like Reynor and Classic absolutely going to be the favorites here in Group B, but Astrea and SOS, they're 2 of the best players in the world. SOS, he's the money man. I would love to see him come back and make a run through that playoff bracket, but yeah, my eyes right now on those 2 top dogs, Reynor and Classic.
We will have Group C tomorrow, and then if you missed the first day, we actually started the tournament with Group D. There was some scheduling conflicts, so for Sunday evening, we're actually going to be closing out the RSL group stages here with Group A. If you want to join us for the entirety of this tournament, we go live. Well, the tournament goes live at 7 p.m. I guess the stream starts at about 6:30, 6:40, something like that. But yeah, we go live here, 7 p.m., Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be powering through this entire tournament through the month of September.
Yeah, group stages all this week is we will probably have that playoff bracket set by Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I feel like there's a lot of really interesting matchups left to be played, especially today with Reynor, Astrea, SOS, and Classic. And I just cannot wait to get back into this. It's been nice coming back into the RSL. And, of course, that offline finals just got announced yesterday. Going to be happening in December. Tell me about that, Tasteless.
So I don't know how in the news cycle this is. I barely had any time to check any news or check the internet here. But if you don't know or if people don't know already, let them know. We are going to have an offline finals in Seoul. I am going to be shopping around to various potential esports venues. This means you can show up, you can watch your favorite players play in person with commentary. The players will physically be there. And, of course, you're giving away 15 million won. That prize pool is unrelated to Season 1, Season 2, or Season 3. So when we finish Season 2, Season 3 is going to be right around the corner. We're going to get ready and prep that. And then shortly after that, we're going to have a big blowout kind of party for the end of the year here for the RSL. So if you want to come join us, feel free. We'll let you guys know when the tickets are ready. We still got to get the dates set and kind of book the venue, but super excited to be sharing this with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. And of course, this would not be possible without the support of the community. If you guys want to contribute, patreon.com/revive SC2. You too can support the RSL. And there are many more tiers and perks than the ones you just see on screen. SCV, Stalker, Immortal. You can go for these tiers. You can get access to the replay packs. I think those are going out around the end of every week, if I'm not mistaken now. In addition to that, you also get voting rights on things such as the maps for every season. There are special voting privileges for getting players invited into the tournament every season. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. And, of course, you get to support the best esport in the world.
That's right. We hope to earn your support. We've been so excited to put this tournament out there. It's been so fun and so rewarding to put on. So check it out. Any support's appreciated. And, of course, we also have the backing of Archon Studio. Now, their products on their website are fantastic. Go check them out. They are making the StarCraft tabletop miniatures game. It's not for pre-sale yet, but it will be close to the end of the year. But they've got a ton of great stuff on their website, so definitely give them a look. I'll tell you what, man, when the Christmas season gets here, I think that StarCraft tabletop miniatures game is going to be an amazing gift.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited. And I've actually been seeing Archon Studios, the StarCraft tabletop miniature game. I've been getting those ads on like my Instagram and everything, too. And I always get
for Christmas,
so
though.
giddy, dude.
No.
I love seeing StarCraft featured like this. It's a beautiful partnership. We are so appreciative for their support. Yes.
And, of course, if you want to get some merch here, we've got that. If you're a Patreon supporter, it's 20% off. If not, just go ahead and get it at tastelessthreads.com. Yeah, we are trying to grow this tournament out. If you want to rep us, maybe you're just kind of walking around alone, and then you see another guy that also has an RSL shirt on, and you become best friends, all right? That's a great way to make friends with someone in StarCraft without even having to start a conversation. Guys, we need your help with the YouTube. We need to grow this YouTube. if you are watching this, like and subscribe. I'm a YouTuber. Let me know what you think in the comments. Wow. But if you're watching on Twitch, or maybe you're watching on my YouTube, we broadcast this here. We do have a dedicated YouTube for this. It is spoiler-free, so if you can't tune in live and you get really annoyed when you look at a YouTube thumbnail and you go, well, you just blew the whole show. Now I know who wins. We keep it secret. So please get out there and check out our YouTube.
Yeah, and make sure if you do go to that YouTube, you go to the playlist section too, because the team's been hard at work, kind of curating everything in a very easy to digest fashion. It's honestly fantastic. Anytime that I'm not here and I want to catch up on the RSL, if I can't watch it live, I'm at home, chilling with my iPad in bed, watching some RSL before I get some sleep. It's good. It's nice.
And for me, growing up, I used to watch the StarCraft I Star Leagues, and that was really like my TV drama. Like I was crazy about having absolutely no spoilers. Not even like, oh, the games are good or the games weren't good or you'll really like game 2. I don't want anything spoiled for me. So we make sure to protect you guys who are hardcore and don't want anything revealed ahead of time. Anyways, guys, we're in game 1 here of the evening. This is Astrea versus Reynor. Astrea here in the top left is Protoss and Reynor in the bottom right. No off racing this time.
Yeah, it's a good old-fashioned PvZ as we kind of get a lay of the land right here. Our observer Mapu showcasing all of the features of this map. Of course, Botanical, one of the maps that the Patreons voted to have into the pool. This is going to be the first map that I ever cast a Botanical here in StarCraft II, so really excited for this. So look at that gold mineral only base right here in the center left, the center right by his Alnaga Watchtower. Pretty interesting map layout, all things considered.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun map to explore here. I do wonder if this is going to be one where, a lot of times you have maps that split in some kind of a diagonal. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they split from top to bottom or from left to right, but I'm interested in seeing, as PvZ is oftentimes very much like this macro, a little bit of a slower matchup, assuming there aren't, very specific timing attacks, how exactly the map shapes out.
Yeah, by the way, Nexus first build coming in here for Astrea. That gateway and double gas now coming online back at home. So a little bit of greed here from our American Protoss player, Reynor. Himself just going for a good old-fashioned hatch gas pool back at home. So all nice and standard for him. And for Astrea, I love to see him getting greedy like this in game number 1. I remember back when he was playing in GSL, watching him go for some of the craziest greedy plays I had ever seen in like PvZ and PvT. This guy, he loves trying to get away with little economic edges like this. And I mean, if you give him an inch here as Reynor, Astrea is not afraid of taking a mile.
I've always liked watching Astrea's builds. I've always thought he's got a really kind of smart way of approaching the game. I felt like he never had the run I thought he was going to get in GSL. He had a lot of really rough groups, but a lot of times the games he did bring, I thought, man, this guy's so smart. Has been in Korea off and on a lot. I want to say almost more than any other StarCraft II Pro who was, extremely active, able to get to the very, highest echelons of, the biggest tournaments.
Yeah, his builds are very fun to watch. I've always been a little bit of a build order nerd when it comes to StarCraft II. It's one of my favorite things to talk about or to analyze. Even just the minor nuances, which, frankly, sometimes, especially at my level, they don't have as much impact as they do for folks like Astrea or like Reynor, but just delving into those tiny details are one of the most enjoyable parts of RTS for me and Astrea. He certainly seems like that kind of gamer. He loves to have this unique outlook, these very greedy plays, and oftentimes it culminates in just spectacular timing. So we're going to see where he will go with this one. The Nexus first. Now we have 2 Adepts coming cross-map because, of course, there is a 2-gateway follow-up to that fast expansion. And what is this pro getting up to, Tasteless?
I don't know if this is going to be for anything crazy. I don't think he's going to throw a pylon down there or anything. He just checks and gets to confirm there on the hatchery. The 2 Adepts shade in. It's going to be a canceled shade. And I'm sorry, where'd the probe go? Oh, no. Oh. Okay. Yeah, he is going to make a pylon here. So this is probably going to be a very early launched attack. Probably Adepts?
Yeah, we have 2 more Adepts in production. There is 1 Sentry back at home, and Chronoboost getting warped in. So we might have...
He might just
getting Chronoboost. I don't know why I jumbled my words there. We might have like a 6 Adept timing attack in a moment.
Oh!
Wow.
Okay.
3rd Nexus, by the way, behind all of this.
So he hasn't used that yet. Huh. So I thought we might have like a couple more gates, and I guess, it always feels like any kind of like weird thing where you would accumulate a bunch of adepts and hit but not have glaives. It does feel like it doesn't make sense, right? That being said, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, things are actually falling apart here for Astrea.
That's a bit of a painful surround of those adepts here at that third base. But keep in mind, at the bottom side, he did use that proxy pylon to try and warp in 2 more adepts, so looking to get some drone damage done there. Unfortunately, the Nexus is going to be canceled, and these adepts, I think in total, only 1 drone going down thus far, so...
I don't see any tech, and the Twilight Council's about to finish. We'll see if Glaive starts, but, you know... Any glaive upgrade build is going to be worse and worse the more adepts we see fall apart before the timing attack hits. So the Twilight's finished, and it is Blink that's starting. Okay, so it's not the glaive thing. I might have read a little bit too much into that proxy pylon. And it's going to be a Dark Shrine behind that, so I guess he wants to throw maybe a DT or 2 out of there later on. But the pylon was made very early for something like that. There's a lot of... I guess I almost have more questions than I have analysis to this.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe Astrea didn't quite anticipate this amount of Lings early from Reynor because he wanted to have a backbone of adepts back at home. He had the 2 at the third base and 2 in the natural expansion to try and get something done there. As we actually have 2 more shading here into the third. Astrea now finding some good damage in total, I believe 4 or 5 drones going down. Fantastic positioning there, but once more the third base getting canceled. This is one of the reasons why you always see an Oracle in PvZ, is because it shuts down this kind of Ling aggro. It's what allows you to get this fast third base. Astrea trying to go into the Nexus first and then the double gateway with a chrono boosted warp gate as instead just a different tool to unlock that third, but Reynor is absolutely punishing him so hard for that Tasteless.
This has gotten so bad here for Astrea that I don't know if he were to start another third base now and get it up, it would really allow him to tiptoe into a longer game. Like, the third base is usually, but especially in PvZ, like the most important base to not ever have delayed. Like the second base, you just get up, right? Because you know how many workers you start out with in StarCraft 2 now. But like even 1 deny on a third base is a pretty big deal. This has been shut down so many times, and Reynor really hasn't taken much of a beating. I mean, his, you know, the rhythm at which he's growing is looking pretty impressive. He's gotten those cancels, he's gotten kills on adepts. And, I mean, he's getting a very healthy 4th base up, which I think actually finishes before this Nexus finishes.
Yeah, Astrea has been ahead on workers for a very long time now, but you look at the saturation there at the natural expansion for Protoss, 31 probes on minerals, and I'm telling you, those probes are not doing very much work. They're just kind of bouncing around right now.
They're ping-ponging off the minerals and not really giving any value. And so we've got the DTs coming out here. This one actually targeting a queen, then switching onto a drone, then back onto a queen. So not quite getting, not shift-clicked down like you'd see a lot of other players try to do there. He did keep one alive, and if that's not noticed, and even the best players in the world, sometimes a DT will just kind of end up hiding in plain sight because they assume it was killed off. Oh my god.
Yeah, big attack now coming into that third base. Recall is going to be maybe getting the DTs back at home. We'll see what the recall is going to be. Yeah, in fact, 1 DT. I'm not sure if we have an Overseer here in the mix for Reynor. Stalkers so far able to deal with this, and yeah, I think there's no detection, so Astrea, with that 1 Dark Templar, able to buy himself a little bit of time. I'm telling you, if he's able to stabilize on these 3 bases, he has the probe count to get back into this game. It's only a 20 supply deficit. I feel like he's navigated through... the shadow realm of getting his third base canceled twice, and is getting closer and closer to having more of a chance versus Reynor, because Reynor, yes, he did have that third base up for a very long time. Now he has the 4th hatchery up, but the drone count is only just now surpassing what Astrea has got. So I don't think the writing is entirely on the wall here for Astrea. And with this Colossus tech coming in and the Archons from the Dark Templar, he's going to have a very powerful army composition for the next couple of minutes.
Now, Reynor's going to max out really fast. I mean, once you start to see roaches made at an insane level of production, he probably wants to come in here and try to ram into the third, see if he can flatten the Protoss and maybe come in again and again and again. A lot of what will happen in the next minute or 2 here from Reynor will be a consequence of all the interactions that we saw lead up to this moment before. So Astrea is basically just getting a very, very small amount of harass here, which is always worth it, right? Even if you kill a couple drones, that's going to be very good. But Reynor's about to max. He just has a few more Lings hatching. He's waiting for this missile attack upgrade to finish, and I assume he's going to come here and try to hit one of these bases. Now, this is going to be hitting when the 4th base for Protoss has started. Keep in mind, Reynor did not mass expand. He dumped all of his resources into this max out, which we're about to hit. He's going to just spend that little bit of extra supply on a few more Ravagers, so there's going to be an incredible amount of corrosive bile. Now, Astrea, okay, I was going to say, moving out here seems like literally the worst time to step foot on the map. But maybe if he can even just force them to stop and fire corrosive biles and slow down, kind of sandbag the progress, it might be worth it.
Yeah, I like that blink forward right there. Just be able to pick off a couple of stray Ravagers on the front lines. Reynor going to be looking to try and find an angle here with all of these Lings, and I like him actually moving across right here because this is the kind of choke point where you can buy a lot of time. Even with just 1 sentry, you energy recharge that thing. You've got 3 force fields available. Astrea uses them all right there, and he is buying time because Reynor, he's maxed out on a very low-tech army. His army isn't getting considerably better. Instead, he's investing in getting additional upgrades, unlocking more tech such as the Infestation Pit, the Hydralisk Den, taking potentially another base very soon, as that one now is getting thrown down in the bottom center of the map. But his army isn't scaling, whereas Astrea at 150 supply still has a lot of room to grow. And because Reynor is kind of locked in on this Ling Roach Ravager tech, if Astrea takes a very good fight, it could easily swing the momentum back into his favor.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the case in games like this where you see Roach Ravager is one guy's just totally... Well, hold on a second. We got a big attack coming in here now. He's actually going to go for the rocks to try to create an exit. A force field comes down, created a bit of a log jam as the Roaches and Ravagers try to escape. A couple more vials hit those stalkers, but the counterattack here will also be deflected with a great recall. And yeah, to the point I was trying to make earlier, whenever you see somebody on Roach Ravager, they're scary, but it's very much a phase of the game, and if you don't get your damage in then, Protoss is going to tech to something that's going to be much better than Roach Ravager, and then it's going to be an awkward position for the the Zerg, because they need to tech into the next the next tech that's going to actually be able to match what Protoss has done. And unlike a lot of games we see, it didn't seem like Reynor ever really went for it. He did that Ling counter attack, but a lot of times you see them max out and then they scramble across the map and try to hit as hard as they can, as quickly as they can. Not the case this time around.
Yeah, and Astrea, he is not transitioning the late game. We don't have any Stargates coming in. That 4th base is up, but we're still only at 64 probes. This is going to be a 4 Colossus timing attack with a ton of +2 Blink Stalkers. And here is Astrea blinking forward, trying to absorb the brunt of the damage, and he's attacking at this time where Reynor really is kind of in a weak spot. He's trying to transition into Hive, but Astrea's army on the ground is just a little bit too strong. This is a kind of off-meta timing attack to be hitting right now, but it is working to perfection. Those lurkers, 3 of them get taken out right before they can burrow, and Astrea with this timing is going to be able to unseat the 4th base, potentially even take down the 5th base. We do have an observer here on the front line. If those Colossi can get to work on the lurkers too, I'm not sure if we have the Hive Tech upgrades just yet for those lurkers.
I'm sorry, he does have an observer with his army here. I didn't see where it was. I thought it might have been picked off, but it floated into the main, and he could just basically maneuver up into here, and suddenly this is a crazy bottleneck for the Zerg. This could be a extremely difficult situation for Reynor to deal with. Seems like there's enough Roaches, enough Lings, enough Lurkers and Hydras that he can come over here and do so much damage to this. Now remember that the 3rd base for Astrea was killed off. There's not going to be a recall here. That was just used earlier. Lings are going to come in here for a beautiful surround. And the question now is, as the dust settles from this crazy fight they both had, where are they exactly? And it seems like Reynor probably in a healthier spot. 4 base versus 3 base, but a way bigger army, a kind of marooned, I guess we could call it now it's a 3rd base, but this base on the far right, it's kind of hanging out there in the open. Can Reynor wind up and do another attack? I love the DTs here.
Yeah, I don't even think Reynor needs to. Astrea was basically all in with that timing attack. There's no Templar Archives. Charge only just now got started. There's no Stargate transition, and even though he was on 4 bases, the probe count was very low, and I really do think that if he was able to maneuver not into the main base, but perhaps trying to take down these auxiliary bases, the one in the bottom center of the map, or maybe pivot down to the 3rd base all the way down at 6 o'clock, it might have gone better for him. This Hive is in jeopardy right now as these DTs are actually getting some really good damage done. Overshear's going to be too late to the party right now. Wow. Last hit's going to be able to take that out, but even then, I mean, it really sucks for Reynor to have to restart the lair and then go back into the Hive after that, but Astrea's techies basically in the Stone Age. You know, the fourth base is now just coming online, remaking that at the 12 o'clock expansion. But in terms of tech, it is still just basically Blinkstalker and Colossus, and I'm really worried for Astrea. I think we have a couple of Vipers on the map. Those Lurkers are going to have their Hive Tech upgrades, or at least one of them with range. And on the ground, the army for Reynor, a couple of minutes ago, it was not very refined. It was very low tech. That's why Astrea was able to get so much damage done at that fourth base. But in this moment, I feel like I have to give the edge to Reynor in terms of just the quality of his army is going to be so far above what Astrea's got.
Yeah, no, he's looking very strong. The DT is still being a bit of a headache. Going to be picked off there by those few roaches. And, you know, Astrea's recovered in the sense that there's now a fourth Nexus back up. He's going to get a second Robo up here. With the Vipers, if he can just get the harpooning off onto the Colossus. There it is. And now it's just Stalkers, which are, of course, going to be so much weaker against Ling, Roach, Hydra. He can try to kite as best he can. I don't know if this is going to be an attack that will stop. I think Reynor very well could just chase him all the way up to the natural.
Yeah, Astrea is going to try and muster all of his forces here between the natural expansion and the third base, but with these Hive Tech Lurkers, I don't see any angle of attack for Astrea to try and dislodge Reynor from this position, and so he's going to go for a counterattack. I think this is probably, given the circumstances, the smartest move he can make, but whenever you go for this kind of timing, or I mean, not this one in particular, but the one before with +2 Blink Stalkers and 4 Colossi and no follow-up plan, you're really hoping to get more done, and now Reynor is basically unleashed. Yes, he is going to be able to take some damage over on this side of the map. There's going to be an aggressive Blink 4. These Roaches and Hydras are going to go down, but Reynor is just wrecking havoc in the natural expansion. The third base now into the main base, and it's looking like Reynor to be taking this game number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Reynor's played an incredible game here. I think Astrea put up a good fight, but Astrea is completely falling apart on his side of the map. GG! Great game. Reynor takes game 1.
That was a really fun map. I like the game plan by Astrea a lot, and I actually want to go back to when he was taking that third base because it got canceled twice, which was so painful. I mean, the greediest fast third base timings that we have for Protoss, it's usually around, I want to say 3 minutes and 30 seconds is when that third Nexus goes down, which is wildly fast. He actually got his third Nexus started. The one that finished was at 6:30, which is like so slow. He was nearing 70 probes by the time he was able to get that third Nexus finally up. And I kind of liked the way that he was trying to get there. He went for that double gateway follow-up to the Nexus first, and he had 2 Adepts in the natural wall, and he had 2 Adepts at the third base, and he was like, all right, I don't have an Oracle, but maybe I have enough Adepts to do this. And then I had that 1 proxy pylon that's going to warp in 2 more Adepts, and should Reynor try and get some damage done on my side of the map, I can steal 3, 4, maybe even 5 drone kills. I think on paper, that is a really smart game plan. It's very off meta. It's off the beaten path. It's something that Reynor might not anticipate, but the fact that Reynor was so aggressive with so many Lings early on just... it pulled the rug out from under Astrea.
Well, we never got to see what Astrea really wanted to do. We saw, like, some of the shadows of it emerging in that game, but yeah, the pylon was shut down. The Lings got in there. They punished the third. Reynor had a very tough time getting into the late game, and I think he did a pretty good job making it close. But Reynor's very good at these positional games. Like, he knows how to counterattack really well, and then when to bail on it. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of this is kind of gaming the fact that recall is a limited resource that Protoss can't hoard it. You know, so you force a recall, and then it's like, okay, well now there's only so many positional maneuvers that Protoss can do, right? And every counterattack basically bled the Protoss out more than, you know, any damage the pushes that Astrea tried to come through with and hit Reynor with.
Yeah, in the end, going to be Reynor taking game number 1, but map 2 has already loaded up, fellas, so let's get into it. It's going to be Takamak Alley, Reynor, the red Zerg spawning in the top right, and Astrea, the blue Protoss, in the bottom left. And just really quickly to go back to that game number 1 one more time, I have to say, the fact that Astrea got derailed so hard in the early game, he had this obviously very nuanced plan that did not come to the conclusion he was hoping for. That Colossus timing attack was still so close to breaking Reynor. It hit at a perfect timing right before the Hive Tech Lurker upgrades came online. He was able to snipe down a base. He took some really good fights. If he can navigate the early game a little bit better here in game number 2 and go for something like that again, I really like his odds here versus Reynor because I was impressed. Usually when you see an early game go that badly in PvZ, whether it be the Zerg player getting dismantled early or the Protoss player getting dismantled early, it's a very momentum-based matchup, right? Usually that's kind of the first domino to fall, and at the end of it, you know, you look at the result of the map, it's like, well, it couldn't have gone any other way given the early game. But Astrea did a very good job of clawing back with that timing, and look at this, game number 2, another Nexus first.
Yeah, let's go. Nexus immediately coming down here. Now, we were talking about how Astrea's openings are always so intriguing, and it's interesting to hear that you have the same thoughts as me. I've always been interested in kind of how he's going to try to handle himself against a player, and I feel like, you know, he is one of the better build order players to follow. But a lot of the circumstances of the game backfired, right? Pylon spotted, Adepts were lost, the Nexus was canceled. Like, really, it was one of the worst early game PvZs you could ask for. So let's see if he does, or has, I should say, a cleaner game this time around.
Yeah, and it's always fun to me just to be able to watch somebody do the same kind of bones of the build. Like, Astrea, this build order thus far looks nearly identical to what he did in game number 1. I think the one key difference is, if I'm not mistaken, there isn't a probe scout on this one, so it's even a little bit more greedy than it was in map number 1. But still, you know, it's the Nexus first and the 2 gateways in the core, and it's always fun to try and break this down because there's 2 paths we can go here, right? Astrea can either just completely run it back from game number 1 and be like, you know what, I think my strategy was good, maybe I didn't execute it exactly to the level. Maybe I just keep the sentry the natural, and then I had the 4 Adepts at the 3rd base, and then I don't get canceled, and then my counterattack gets something done. Or we might have Astrea just branch off in an entirely different direction with the same opening archetype, and that's actually what it's going to be. It's going to be a Stargate coming in, and these kind of builds, if you're a student of the game, if you're watching RSL or GSL or EWC or any of these other events and trying to improve yourself, these are the fun games to watch because it's the same opening. It looks the same, but then you diverge at a certain point. At this point, it's like, what, 2:30 with the Stargate coming in? And this is one of the best ways to learn a matchup, in my opinion.
I agree. Looks like he finally manages to corner the sling. Wanted to see if the Adept would maybe continue to glide up and he could loop back around. And, you know, Reynor, he's always had very clean early game. I think a lot of times people kind of think of players like Reynor and they think about how gargantuan they are in the late game and how they look unstoppable. But really, the way a Zerg player gets that is by playing so perfectly in the early game that, you know, like if this was, if they were like race car drivers, like they've cut the corner exactly perfectly every time around the course to where now they're, you know, it looks like all the cars are going fast. But this is why they're at the head of the pack. And you know, that's them ballooning out on the map with the creep tumors, getting the drones exactly where they need to be, and never missing a beat and never, you know, fumbling the ball when an attack comes. Now, this looks like it's going to be a slower game, and that's telegraphed by the Void Ray. The Void Ray is kind of a catch-all for your side of the map. You can't be killed off by Lings, as long as you have something else to pair with the Void Ray. The Void Ray is not great against Lings. You can clear out Overlords, and you can basically darken your side of the map to the Zerg, and then you can tech into some weird stuff if you want, and in this case, it's going to be a very quick second Stargate. So I was going to, before I saw that second Stargate, say sometimes you'll see players play a very normal game, but this is not one of those. So it's basically super fast Stargate tech.
Yeah, this is an awesome build order. That is a very greedy 3rd base coming in. The Oracle didn't even try to get any harassment done. You look at Astrea's vision right now on the minimap, and he's hardly scouted Reynor at all. It's just pure greed. The Oracle secures the 3rd base, and then behind it we have the Void Array, which can snipe some Overlords, and then is going to be able to have the baton pass to it, take over the defensive duties at the natural and the 3rd, and the Fleet can follow up. I'm thinking this is probably going to be Tempest, and on the back of such a greedy opening, I feel like this has a lot of potential. It's actually going to be Carriers. Wow. All right, I'm excited, Tasteless. This is a fun build.
Yeah, so, you know, with the Void Ray out, it's so hard to from the Zerg's perspective to see the Carriers in time. And so how many does Astrea want to get exactly in this build before you show? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
do you know?
No, I don't see carrier rushes like this all that often. Usually when you see the very fast second Stargate and Fleet Beacon, it's going to be something like Tempest, and you just go immediately. You try and snipe down Queens. Ideally, you want to take down one hatchery. You want to inflict a lot of economic damage, and then recall the moment the Corruptors come out. But carriers are much more of a fighting composition.
Yeah.
Especially with the +1 air weapons. They're going to make mincemeat of any of these low armor units. And as it is right now here for Reynor, he is going into Hydras. He's adding the Infestation Pit, so he is gearing up for a later game with the 4th hatchery also nearing completion. And my eyes are just glued on that production tab here for Astrea. How hard is he going to be committing into the carriers? Will we have additional techs coming in? Because unless I'm mistaken, there's still no Twilight Council. This might be a pure, say, carrier gateway timing attack or something like that. There's a lot of different ways this could go, but it's feeling aggressive.
But what Reynor's doing looks good. He got Lings, he's getting Hydras, he's getting the missile attack, he's getting an Infestation Pit. And we saw exactly one Oracle. Sometimes what you don't see reveals what's really behind the curtain, right? It wasn't 2 Oracles even, coming and trying to snipe stuff. There hasn't been a Warp Prism that's been out on the map. We haven't seen Adepts, trying to stay off of creep and maneuver around. That would be pre-Ling speed when you can maybe do that. But we haven't seen anything. A Ling comes in, just 2 Stalkers. Does he peek in for more? And, it does look like a pretty... this Protoss base kind of looks like a haunted house, right? It looks eerily empty and vacant. And obviously that's because the supply has now gone into 4 carriers. So, I've been streaming myself playing StarCraft 1 a decent amount. Usually, if you want to spring the carries on them, the number's 4. And I was about to say, I wonder if in this build... Because in StarCraft II, I'm really not sure about when you'd want to show carriers here. But yeah, it feels like 4 is kind of the number where it's like you've got enough that you can really start to strong arm the Zerg. And so that's exactly what happened. So he's going to move out. We've got 7 Hydras. Now, when you're low on carriers, obviously if you get 6 or 8, it's a different story. Oh no. My God. Well, I was going to say you could snipe the Interceptors at a distance, or you could just kill them.
Oh, that's so sad.
Well, guys.
That's, yikes.
That's what I call a game of StarCraft II.
Man, I was getting so hype. I was so giddy to go into this mass carry.
No, I know.
We've already
got
4 carries on that +1 air weapons just completed. And then Reynor.
Sometimes when pro gamers cast games and people will be critical of them because they'll go they'll see the first mistake and they go, okay, well now he's behind, he's lost. Because when you're a pro gamer, you're kind of, if you're going to look at a game, you have to go, okay, how do I play as perfectly as I can? Where was the first mistake made? Although a lot of times they'll say that and you go, well, they're not totally out of the game. I think he's probably dead.
Yeah,
losing 3 carriers to Reynor, getting literally no value. I don't even know if there was more than 1 Hydra killed there. So, this is going to prompt Reynor to just send it across the map. We've got Queens waddling across the map. Storm is coming.
Yeah, Storm is nearly done. We have a lot more static defense coming in, although, of course, Seismic Spine Lurkers are going to make quick work of a lot of the static defense here on the front lines, should Reynor be able to get in range. But there is a chance that if Astrea has some very clutch Storms right here on the Hydras and is able to actually clean them up here with the carriers, that this will turn into an overextension here for Reynor, but we'll have to see if that's going to happen. So far, opening engagement quite good here for Astrea. Love him also bringing back these Interceptors, going in for a big Storm right there, catching a lot of units, but it's mostly the Hydra that you want to hit, not really the Lings. You need to soften up the Hydra, soften up the Queens, because the carriers are how you're going to hold this situation right now.
The Lings get in here. He's actually going to snipe the air weapons, too.
Oh, man, look at this. Microbial Shroud coming in, so the carriers have to target the units outside of that Shroud. They're doing basically no damage to anything under it, and so Astrea is going to have to retreat. Usually you don't see this ability being used very often from the Infestors, and now that it's dissipating, finally able to clean up a lot of these units on the grounds, and hey, that was a good defense on the front line there for Astrea, but the Lings getting into the main, getting into the natural. 31 probes dead.
He's actually going to get air weapons level 2. He got the core to half health. Oh, now, too late. Too late. You should have killed it earlier. Air weapons level 2 is done. 31 probes are down. Another push comes in here with Hydras. And when you see Hydras versus Interceptors, it's going to go one way or the other. And in this case, there's enough Hydras that they can just, there we go. GG.
That's sad.
That's, well, it's a rare build, right? It's not very often we see 3 base insta to Stargate carrier. And so when you see it, you go, okay, well, there's going to be this element of surprise. You're basically trying to blindside them with these carriers, start to get the damage, try to navigate the game to a win, and maybe throw someone like Reynor. And Reynor is like almost impossible to kill, ZVP. So this is a cool curveball move, but just like you see someone rushes for Warp Prism, like we saw with the Archon, the 2 Archon drop where they just got killed. It goes, well, we kind of see where this game's going. 3 of the 4 carriers are shot down immediately, not traded, just killed.
Yeah, and that's everything that you're building up towards, too. You also have +1 air weapons, which, like, all right, you have +1 air weapons.
The upgrade's gone into nothing. There was a period where Astrea sort of tried to hang on. But again, I mean, it's math at that point in time. You have so many Hydras out, it's just going to melt the interceptors.
Yeah, it's sad because I will say from Astrea, those 2 games were some of the coolest builds I've seen Protoss players do in PvZ in a really long time, and Raiders just like slaps him down immediately, like, no, we're not. You're not getting to do this against me.
I'm curious if he saw, or sensed, I should say, the carrier tech.
Well, he saw the 4 carriers when they moved from the 3rd base with the Lings.
But I mean before it was shown, because he was making Lings. I don't think there was a Roach that was made in that game. I was mostly looking at it from the Protoss's perspective, but I don't think I saw any Roaches made. It was just Hydra's Lings, Infestors coming, and maybe it was just the absence of anything else happening.
I think so.
That's kind of the tell.
Yeah, not seeing any stalker harassment, only 1 Oracle.
It's too quiet.
Yeah, where's that Stargate going? Where's the money going?
Yeah.
Hydras are a nice catch-all in that situation, because if they are just going Sky Toss, well, you got the Hydras, so.
Yeah. If they're going for War Prism, you can try to chase them down that way. What are we plugging? Okay, the Patreon this time. Guys, consider signing up for our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Revive SC2. We've got different tiers depending on what level of support you are able to get. That goes to support the production, the prize pool. We do have a live event that's going to be happening in December where if you want to fly out, or maybe you live in Korea, you want to take the train out here or drive out, and you'll be able to see casting in person, pro gamers playing, the whole shebang. We're going to be doing it. I'm super excited for this. So consider supporting that Patreon, whether it's a little or a lot. It means the world to us. And we're I guess a little bit under halfway through the year here for RSL. Obviously, it's September, so we're kind of close to wrapping the year up. But we've got a lot more StarCraft II post CWC.
Yeah, it's been jam-packed, the schedule, man.
It was like no StarCraft, then it's a lot of StarCraft. Anyways, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue on here in Group B of the RSL.
Welcome back, everybody, to Day 2 of the RSL Season 2. I am State. Joined with me is Sturgeon, and we are continuing on here in Group B. Upcoming SOS versus Classic, another PvP. I feel like you and me have been casting a lot of PvP lately. You excited for this one, buddy?
Well, yeah, I can't wait. We got 2 of Korea's finest Protosses here. Going to be a showcase of some high-level PvP. Very different styles between these 2 players, I would say. Classic, kind of the more macro-orientated Protoss, I would say. SOS known to throw out some wild stuff. I think it should be a good clash of styles. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think you kind of put it perfectly, where Classic, he's slow, he's meticulous. Of course, he's capable of doing anything. He is a very complete Protoss player, but SOS, his entire career has just been a wild card that you cannot imitate, and believe me, I've tried. Back when I was competing in SOS, it felt like he was winning every single 6-figure tournament, because I'm pretty sure he was.
Right.
I was like, all right, how do I play like this guy? And you try to do it, but it's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. He is just so unpredictable. He goes with the flow. He is zany. He's got a very unique perspective on the game, and so I think it's going to be a very fun, very interesting clash of styles between these 2, but Classic, he is undisputably the best Protoss player in the world right now. Reigning RSL champion, 2nd place EWC. A lot of people heading into EWC were expecting him to be the champion of that one. Right. Terrific performance in GSL all year long. I mean, Classic, he is on fire this year.
Yeah, this is kind of a story of 2 Protosses who have left the scene and come back, or been coming in and out of the scene. Classic came back, really strong, like you said. The current RSL champ, killing it in EWC. He's kind of the Protoss to beat right now. and I would put him as the favorite in this matchup. But like you said, SOS, you can never count this guy out. You never know what he's going to bring to the table. And we are going to get into these games. The players are getting ready here. And the first map is going to be on ley lines, guys, as we jump into game number 1.
Yeah, and here we go. SOS, the barcode Protoss, spawning in the red in the bottom left, and Classic, the blue Protoss, here in the top right of ley lines. And yeah, I'm expecting a little bit of shenanigans here from SOS, although it's part of the unpredictability with him is that he also is capable of playing this a safe, standard, greedy macro game.
Right.
And so I'm curious because these are two players top in the world, top in Korea as well here. You know that they're hitting each other on the ladder. You know that they have a pretty good feel for each other's play styles. And so the mind games, I'm sure, are going to be running very deep over the course of this series.
Absolutely. If you look at the production tab and the timing on these probes meeting in the middle, this build is perfectly mirrored. I literally can't see a difference in that production tab right now. The probe, the gateway, and the assimilator. Okay, we do have the second gas coming down here slightly quicker for Classic. And now the other one going down for SOS. Just a minor variation there. We got a 2 gateway opening here for Classic. That can lead into some aggressive play, such as some of the builds you saw from Mana yesterday. He threw out those proxy robos, the Stalker aggression with the Warp Prism. Right now, SOS does not have that second gateway on the way, so we'll have to see what he's planning to do here. Maybe he's going to expand and try to play defense. Kind of the opposite of what we were talking about, but both these players, like you said, can play a range of styles. Anything is possible here.
Yeah, the one-gate expansion, or not expansion, I don't want to preempt it and get ahead of myself, but the one-gate opening here for SOS is pretty interesting. He's going to be going for the Zealot right now. I think that's likely just to defuse any kind of pylon block that might come in here by Classic to delay this expansion. And the way things are looking, we might have a Stargate coming down. Although Classic, look at this, he's also going for a proxy here in the center of the map. Yeah,
this is so like bang middle in the middle of the map. It's kind of so obvious you might not look for it, right?
Oh, it's a robo.
Oh, it's a robo, yeah. So we do see the proxy robo coming out here. We'll have to see if he's going to go for the Immortal or the Warp Prism to begin with. But he didn't try and hide it around the edge of the map. Maybe he thought the probe's just gone through here. If I put it where the probe's just passed, it's not going to come back this way, right? It'll go somewhere else to check. We do see this probe trying to get up the ramp is denied by the sentry. He's going to hallucinate a Phoenix. And the big moment here is, will he actually fly that over the robo and see it? It looks like it's going the other direction right now. So this is I mean, if you're Classic, you're very happy about this.
Yeah, SOS is certainly going to know something is up once he scouts the main base, but not knowing the tech of choice of your opponent or where the proxy is will certainly be a problem. And Classic, with that 2 gateways, definitely going to be leveraging this production into a little bit of aggression. More Adepts coming in, a Warp Prism as well. SOS now with his Hallucinated Phoenix confirming there is no expansion, and 2 gateways instantly getting thrown down here by our red Protoss player.
Yeah, this is interesting, right? We saw MaxPax try and hold this kind of push with the Void Rays after the Stargate. SOS taking a slightly different approach here. He's going to get some extra gateways. He's got the shield battery. He's got 1 shield battery of the natural. He's making 2 more right now. So his response looks, he's obviously knows what's going on. That Phoenix just missing the Warp Prism there. A little bit tragic. There's 4 units there. They're going to fly into the main, see what they can start to pick off. An Immortal will be the follow-up. So Warp Prism into Immortal. That Immortal will hit like a truck. But right now we have the units floating in. Okay, and now SOS knows what's up. 4 Adepts in the main. Pick off a couple probes. They're going to shade around, be lifted out of there by the Warp Prism, and this is pretty much almost, I was going to say free damage, but I thought that Adept might go down, so good start here with the aggression by Classic.
Yeah, and for SOS, that's very painful because I think there was a little bit of a probe cut as he took that second expansion to try and make sure that, he's not being too greedy into the one-base play of Classic, but as a result, the economic advantage here for SOS, there isn't all that much because those 5 probes went down in the main base. It's just a 2-probe advantage, and Classic, he is fully saturated with 23 probes in that 1 main base. And now that we're adding in Immortals to the mix, 3 sentries here for Classic as well, defending this is going to become a very scary proposition.
Absolutely. These sentries get dropped in the main. The Immortal actually didn't come out there for a moment. A little bit scary. It does join up with those sentries. I really like what Classic's doing here. He's forcing SOS to keep a big portion of his army in the main. So when this push does happen at the natural, okay, look, there's 3 Stalkers in the main. If you send everything at the natural right now, oh, he snuck 3 Stalkers somehow into the base of Classic, and here we go. The force fields go down, but he has a Warp Prism, so he just picks those Immortals up, drops them on the other side. So many force fields on the screen right now. I don't know who's, and this is starting to kick off here. Classic is moving in, trying to get as much damage he's done as he can. The probes are pulled in the main base of Classic. Damage being done on both sides, and SOS is dead.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of timing attack can end the game in a hurry there, and I think this is one of the reasons why you typically see a Stargate come in when you go for that fast expansion. Of course, going for 3 gates like that, it is a viable option, but against what Classic was doing with a proxy robo, you can see the difference in micro capability. The Warp Prism allows you to kind of juke and jive. Those force fields, yeah, they isolate some units there of Classics. SOS, he's trying to focus them down, but with a Warp Prism, I mean, hot pickup, and then everything stays alive. And then on the flip side, if you're just playing with the gateway tech, the same way that SOS was, Classic's force fields come in, and you are locked in. It doesn't matter if you have shield batteries, because those Immortals are going to power everything down so quickly, and that was a clean Game 1 win here for Classic.
Absolutely. I love the point you brought up about the Stargate. If you have that Void Ray, that Warp Prism pressure in the main doesn't really get to happen, right? You can zone out the Warp Prism with the Void Ray, and then guess what? You don't have to leave a portion of your army in the main to defend. So what happened was SOS ended up with like 3 Stalkers in his main defending. He sent 3 Stalkers across the map to counterattack. Maybe regrets that now. I'm not sure if he needed those at home. But he ends up being spread very thin, and then the whole army goes into the natural, and it just hits so hard at that timing.
Yeah, I almost feel like the response that SOS had with the 3 gateways versus the pressure is partly because he didn't know exactly what Classic was going to throw at him. It was very late that he scouted the proxy robo with the probe. I think it was basically the same time the Warp Prism was going into the main base is when he
missed it
spotted
twice, right, on the map. A little bit unlucky there, maybe. But I
think maybe even more than twice, because there was another Hallucinated Phoenix that came in, a second one that also didn't spot it, and so it was just... Yeah, it was a little bit of a tragedy there for SOS. Had it been, say, a proxy Oracle with gateway pressure, SOS has all the tools in his belt to defuse that situation perfectly. Unfortunately for him, a little bit of unlucky draws with the scouts, and Classic just had the perfect tech of choice to decapitate SOS's natural expansion. And now Classic just one map went away from facing Reynor in the winners match. Of course, this is a GSL-style group, so the loser of the series, they are not out of the tournament. They will be facing Astrea in another PvP in that elimination match. As Game 2 is loaded up, spawning here in the bottom right, the red Protoss of Maganatha, it is SOS. And in the top left, the blue Protoss, it is Classic.
Absolutely. I think maybe Classic was watching the RSL yesterday, dude. He saw Mana proxying these robots. He's like, hey, that's pretty good. I'm going to try that tomorrow against SOS. And it worked out beautifully for him in that first game. I kind of expect something different out of both these guys. They've got a huge tool belt of builds that they can bring to the table. So I'll have to see what they want to go in for. I'd love to see SOS be the aggressor. I think that kind of suits his playstyle more. But on the other hand, maybe you could say that's predictable. That's what Classic might expect. So we'll have to see what they're going to go for. Again, the builds are perfectly mirrored here. That's when you know you're watching the best Protosses in the world, when those builds line up perfectly. Again, we see the second gas for Classic coming down just a hair quicker than SOS is. And right now, SOS has a probe moving into Classic's base here. And Classic, if I'm not mistaken, has not sent a probe out yet.
Yeah, just going for a second gateway scout instead. It's a pretty typical timing. If you're not really afraid of any kind of early proxy going for the 2-gate scout, it gets you a little bit more mining time, of course, because that probe is it's mining minerals, right? It's not all the way out on the map, but that is going to allow SOS to go for a really greedy Nexus before core. This is one of the reasons why a lot of players will go for the gateway scout the same way that SOS did, is because it allows you to block that Nexus from getting thrown down. But Classic, it almost feels like he's just expecting this kind of greed for SOS. Maybe this has kind of been SOS's MO in the PvP matchup lately, because Classic, with no scout, has already proxied a pylon on the top right side of the map.
Yeah, I guess when you go for those 2 gates, you don't need to scout, right? Because you're going to have enough units to deal with any aggression, and probably you're going to be the aggressor if they're expanding, like you say, or staying at home. We do see 2 Adepts coming out for Classic. They're going to try and probably shade into the natural, try and get into that main base, pick off some probes. Of course, SOS will probably be ready, maybe throw down a pylon. We'll have to see. It is a robo again. So this Classic could just be sending it again, you know, do the same thing. Warp Prism, pressure in the main, come back round to the natural, bring all his forces into one place, and try to end this game early.
Yeah, if you don't go for a Stargate, this is such a difficult build to stop here for SOS. And so I'm watching that production tab, but we have a second sentry the same way we did in game number 1, and indeed we will. So likely not going to be a Stargate here for SOS, and that means that the Swiss Army knife of units that he's going to have aren't going to be perfectly capable of dealing with Warp Prism harassment with those Immortals. It is crucial that he scouts this as quickly as possible. Please don't miss it this time. Okay, he sees the pylon, he sees the Robo.
I really like that this is proxied in the speed zones because it's only a little thing, but each unit will actually get there a little bit quicker. Like it might be a second or two, but those seconds can really matter in such a volatile matchup like this when you're going for these proxies. Yeah, we do see the Adept shade in. Like we said, they're turned away by that pylon block. Cancels that. Doesn't want to get a full wall, obviously. That would be kind of tragic, and he's going to have to keep doing this. It's kind of annoying to deal with. And Classic's going to make him spend that APM tax, basically. We do see the Immortal coming out as the follow-up. The Warp Prism already here, so now he's going to pick up the Adepts. Oh, he's got 2 at the natural and 2 at the front. Oh, and there's no wall this time. The Adepts actually getting in it. Oh, doesn't commit to the Shade, though.
Yeah, I actually decided not to commit to the Shade. A little bit of a surprise right there, but instead this drop going to be coming in. So far, just kind of evenly distributing the damage on the probes. I believe none of them actually went down. Maybe 1 in total, though. That might have been the scouting probe. In any case, SOS, so far, not taking any damage. This has been a much better defense than game number 1, and a lot of that is because he got the scout on that robotics facility in the top right side of the map. 11 worker advantage here for SOS. He's going to pop this shield on the Immortal. At Warp Prism also already losing its shields, and so I'm liking the position right now for SOS a lot more. 3 gateways, it's much more difficult to defend this kind of push, in my opinion, as opposed to a Stargate, but with the start that SOS has, this might be possible.
Yeah, he's doing a much better job of dealing with this. He's got that shield battery in the main again, so these Stalkers can actually fight the Immortal. If you don't have that, they can just die, right? The Immortals hit these Stalkers so hard, being armored, obviously. He's got his whole army here. He's got to be careful with this Warp Prism. Actually, these units might be stuck here. The Immortal's getting low. He's got to save it, but he can't. The Warp Prism's zoned out by the Stalkers. It goes down. SOS suddenly looking in a very nice position here. This Warp Prism needs a little bit of time to regenerate its shields. If you lose the Warp Prism, the game's basically over, right? You need it to pick up units, drop them over force fields, drop them in the main, that kind of thing. And yeah, Classic's building up to this big push here. And actually going for the Stargate now. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, SOS's defense has been so on point thus far. I love the body block with the Stalkers just trying to shimmy between the Immortal and the cliff edge to make sure it could not get in range of that Warp Prism. But now Classic, he's going to come back in for a counterpunch here. The natural expansion force field's very good. That will force Classic to step back. Of course, SOS does not have the privilege of being able to micro with his own Warp Prism, so these sentries isolated here on the left side, but the force field's actually doing a great job of zoning away. And once more, SOS with a hit squad coming in. Oh, man. This pylon powering all of the gateways getting taken down here in the main base of Classic as SOS. So far, the defense has been so clutch. Still 14 workers ahead of his opponent. Recall now coming in on those Stalkers. They accomplished their job. Those gateways have been depowered, and now it's all about anchoring the defense back at home. But with a third Immortal joining the fray, Sturgeon, it's not over yet.
Absolutely not. Shutting down all the production of Classic there with a beautiful counterattack. This time sending 4 Stalkers instead of 3. Gets the job done this time. Manages to bring them back. And now he just has to stay alive, right? He's got more than enough. He's actually making more probes. That feels insane to me. Like, he's already so far ahead, it feels like. But he's going to keep making them. Now we have a Phoenix out, so there's no more sending that Warp Prism into the main, ferrying the units up there. The only thing he can do now is basically shove the natural. So SOS can bring all his units there, focus everything. Look at him pre-spreading the Stalkers, getting that, not going to get his army cut off by the force field. He's got so many shield batteries here. 2 Phoenixes now, continuing to make those. And Classic's on a timer. He's got to make this happen.
Yeah, the income disparity is massive right now in favor of SOS. And for Classic, he wants to wait until he has enough Stalkers to defuse these Phoenixes when they actually come in and lift up the Immortals, because that's really the way they're going to have to deal with this as the Blue Protoss player. Warp Prism Micro now coming in, just trying to use all of SOS's sentry energy, and SOS being very cautious with this. Notice he drops 2 force fields. That sentry looks like could drop at least 1 more, probably 2 more. It's very close to 100 energy, but in any case, battle now commencing. Phoenixes are going to be coming in right now, in range of that shield battery, in fact, and so these Stalkers are not able to take them down very quickly. Immortals falling. Those probes are also getting pulled. The Zealots on the front line as well, absorbing a lot of this damage, and that Warp Prism is in jeopardy.
Oh, dude, the hold position by SOS on his whole army there, not getting baited into classic attack was beautiful. And now we see him pushing this army back, bringing the probes. He says, okay, I'm so far ahead, it doesn't matter if I lose 5 probes here, maybe even 10. Like, he just has such a big worker lead, he can use them as a meat shield. And he's pushed this army back for now. There's still 4 Immortals with a 5th one on the way, so it's still scary. But also as the Phoenix number climbs, you're going to be able to pick up more and more of those. But this push still has a little bit of teeth left, gets 1 Stalker there, that's nice. If he can do that a bunch more times, he could still be able to win this game. The Immortals are picked up. I think one of the Phoenixes got killed instantly. He's focused down by those Stalkers. So many units going down here. SOS fighting away from his shield batteries right now. I'm not sure how wise that is, but the units are trading out here. Immortals going down. This is huge damage by SOS here.
Yeah, man, you can see the game plan from game number 1 coming to fruition here in game 2 for SOS. A little bit more greed with that Nexus getting it thrown down before the core, the clutch scout on the proxy robo, and again, I kind of eat my words a little bit. I always talk about how difficult it is, whether I'm playing on stream or whether I'm casting a game, trying to defend proxy robo with pure gateway tech. It feels like an uphill battle, man, if you don't have those void rays, because the micro potential on your side is so far lower than the player with the warp prism, being aggressive with immortals, with adepts. He made it work.
He made it work, and he made it look really, like, he did it really well. For me, the big key moments were, like you said, scouting that proxy, even though it was like all the way on the side of the map in the speed zone. And then the second biggest moment was shutting down the production. Right? He lost that pylon, and for me, that was the big moment in the game where suddenly Classic's push kind of lost its teeth a little bit. Maybe he couldn't go as quickly as he wanted, and he ended up having to try to pick off units one by one, you know, make him burn some force fields, that kind of thing. Whereas maybe you want to push a little bit more aggressively, but I think SOS controlled his army and kind of had a really good game plan there.
Yeah, especially the defense in the main base of the drop coming in with the Immortal. the body block, like actually surrounding it instead
I was watching Warcraft 3 there. Like,
yeah.
That was a 6 round, dude. Got those Stalkers on a north, south, east, and west of that Immortal, absolutely trapping it. The Warp Prison couldn't help it get out of there. And yeah, once you get the Immortal numbers whittled down a little bit, if they're like similar in number to the Phoenix and they all get picked up, that's so good for the defending player.
Well, SOS able to make the magic happen right there on defense. Is he going to go for the same greedy 1-gate expand style here in game number 3? Because I do feel like if the builds get run back again, I'm going to give the edge to Classic, because that was kind of a miracle hold there in game number 2. You know, everything went so well for SOS, and it's not like it was luck-based. It's just that executing at that level is very difficult to do consistently, even if you're the best player in the world. So we'll have to see what the build orders of choice are going to be as the deciding map is loading in. It's going to be Takamok, SOS, the red Protoss, spawning here in the bottom left. Classic, the blue Protoss in the top right.
Dude, if we couldn't see the player names right now, like we knew it was Classic versus SOS, but we didn't know who was who, I would definitely say they were the opposite players, right? I would say, oh yeah, SOS is the guy proxy, and Classic's probably at home defending, making it happen. But no, Classic being the aggressor here. He's done it twice, the same build basically. It worked in the first game, not in the second game. And yeah, we'll have to see what he wants to go for here. I'd like to see him mix it up a little bit. If you're SOS though, I feel like he's confident that he can shut down the proxies if he knows about it. Like if he finds that proxy, if he knows it's coming, I feel like he's very confident in his response, because he didn't shy away from the Nexus in the second game.
Yeah, he definitely is showing a lot of confidence in this playstyle thus far, and we'll have to see if he's going to run it back. You know, I've been surprised with SOS for, I want to say, like the better part of a year now, in that everybody, including myself, just always remembers him as this guy who was completely crazy, off the wall with his strategies, willing to proxy gate in tournament finals 2 or 3 maps in a row, yeah. Just capable of truly anything. But he's been reinventing himself very slowly in the modern meta of StarCraft II. I knew that he took a very long break from StarCraft. I'm not sure if he was ever officially retired, but you know, even a couple of years ago, I think he was playing a couple of games here and there, playing in some qualifiers, but clearly not playing full-time. And over, I want to say, like the past maybe 12 or 18 months, he has been kind of pivoting in this much more macro direction. And you know, if SOS, if he starts picking up the game and just playing it full time again, like nose to the grindstone, playing 24/7, gearing up for GSLs, for RSLs, for potentially future EWCs and other LAN events, I could totally see him being a classic style player where if you can tap back into that old school skill that you had, just playing on the knife's edge, capable of doing absolutely anything with the macro refinement that he's been able to develop over the past year or so, it's very exciting. I hope we get to see SOS play more because he has been one of my favorite Protoss players of all time.
Definitely. There's such an interesting little mini game these guys are playing here, like trying to block the expansions of each other. We didn't know if they were going to try and go for a Nexus before the Stargate, but now we do see both players going for that Stargate. Both of them still trying to block the Nexus here. Actually, 2 pylons going down here, 1 each. And I feel like SOS has been so annoying with that probe. It does finally go down, and we're looking at pretty much mirrored builds here. Classic does have his Oracle come out just a little bit earlier. As we saw yesterday, having that Oracle come out a little bit earlier can actually be the difference in the game, right? Like he killed so many workers. We see the Adept shading across the map now. They give a high five. And this is going to start heating up pretty soon here. We see a Phoenix coming out from SOS, so he might have the advantage here in terms of build order.
Yeah, and the fact that he's keeping the Phoenix at home and not showing it. Classic is also going into a Phoenix of his own, but of course he went for that first Oracle, as you pointed out. So if SOS is able to safely intercept this Oracle before he can get any probe damage done, or maybe even just 2 or 3 probes, yeah, I'm absolutely loving SOS's position. And wait, SOS has such a good read on this. He's taking a 3rd gas geyser already at the natural expansion. The Nexus is not done yet, and this is the way that you play a Phoenix versus Phoenix mirror. It's a very gas-based economic game. Now, Oracle coming here into the main base of SOS. Probes pulled very quickly. 2 probes have gone down thus far. Recall's going to come in. That should be able to save the Oracle with a little bit of HP. In fact, actually, not taking that much hull damage at all. And you can see Classic immediately throwing down that 2nd Stargate. Now, my PvP Phoenix versus Phoenix science is not what it used to be. I will preface by saying that, Sturgeon, this has been kind of out of the meta a little bit in Korean StarCraft II. I know that MaxPax is probably the best player in the world at playing this, but I don't get to cast his games very often, and so I'm not sure what the exact optimal branching is in terms of when do you get the fleet beacon, when do you get air weapons or air armor, how do you choose the timings of the Stargates versus the timings of the expansions, but in this case, it will be a very fast 2nd Stargate. Also, look at that, a Twilight Council here for Classic.
Yeah, Classic's tech here seems to be just a little bit ahead of SOS's. That Twilight just about a 3rd done now. He did have 1 less Phoenix because he made the Oracle. He got two probes for it. I think that's about as good as you can expect going up against 2 Phoenixes in the main. You know, sometimes you just get nothing, you just lose it. But he did manage to send it home, and he's got a little squadron of Phoenix here at home. We'll have to see. It's so dangerous. It's kind of like Muta versus Muta. Like, you want to move out, but you don't want to lose all your probes or your drones or whatever. And these games can be decided so quickly. The Phoenixes obviously can't get away from each other, right? They move as they shoot. So you got to be super careful and keep your eye on your Phoenixes all the time. Make sure you don't suddenly, move them into the other Phoenix ball and lose a bunch. Nice stasis traps coming down here in the middle of the map. Just getting a little bit of map control. And is that a pylon? Yeah, there's a pylon going down in the bottom right for Classic. And with Blink on the way, I think he's going to be transitioning out of the Phoenixes much earlier than SOS.
I think he might have even canceled the 2nd Stargate. We also have, let's not forget, a Dark Shrine halfway in production. That 2nd Stargate, I think, was actually where those gateways are. So SOS has a little bit of a mystery on this situation, and it's not as if that's an error. It's just because in Phoenix vs. Phoenix, as you pointed out, if Classic is just pumping Phoenixes right now, you don't really want to be the one attacking. There's a significant defender's advantage unless you get some kind of discrepancy, like you have Phoenix range before they do, or you have a clutch upgrade before they do. And so for SOS, he's been up until this point very timid with his scouting, but that means he is not aware that Classic is going into a gateway transition. He doesn't know about the Dark Shrine. He doesn't know about Blink. Yes, those Stargates for SOS can pump out Oracles for detection, but if we get a couple of DTs in the main base, in the natural expansion, it might cause enough economic damage that even if SOS can put out the fires, then suddenly a big Blink Stalker army for Classic could do this. Now, SOS, is he going to see the Shimmer? Okay, he does. He starts an Oracle.
He sees it.
That is a clutch catch.
Wow. He's really doing a great job to pay attention there. If you miss that and for like 4 DTs run in, you can just lose the game. And here we do see them coming in. He's trying to block with the gateways and the force field. He's trying to make a SimCity, the pylon as well. Wow. He's trying to block everything off. Wow, he does a good job shutting out the DTs. 1 does get in, but that's not the end of the world. You can deal with that once the Oracle comes out. If you don't lose too many probes here, you're feeling okay. Even blocks the entrance, the ramp to the main base. Amazing defense by SOS, honestly. I was really worried there for him.
And do we only have the one Oracle on the map right now? Because keep in mind, Revelations, there's a little bit of a cooldown, and also they do cost energy. Okay, second one is going to be able to come in, but for Classic, because there are 4 DTs, notice he is staggering the entry into Natural Expansion until all of these get cleaned up through 4 cooldown cycles on the Revelation. It's going to be hard for SOS to saturate this space, as he's now going to be trying to get some counter damage of his own with these Phoenix. I'm not sure how many Blinkstalkers we have on the map right now for a Classic. It seems like just a handful, so these Phoenix actually getting a fair bit done.
Yeah, and they actually get away from the Blink Stalkers. They're managing to get out of range. They're picking off a lot of probes here, but he just loses so many.
Yeah, and I think SOS just realizes he did not have the correct read on the situation. GG is called, and that might look like it's premature, but when you tech that heavily into Phoenix and your opponent's already on 3 bases, they've gotten economic damage done, not just directly, but also indirectly by having that Natural Expansion get vacated for a minute plus.
Right.
You don't really have any of the tools that you need to create a winning situation. So SOS, he recognizes that he's going to be tapping out, and Classic will move on into the winner match versus Reynor. That's going to be a very exciting match coming up.
Oh, dude, that's going to be so sick. I cannot wait for that one. I really like how Classic played that. Like you say, canceling that second Stargate, getting the pylon out on the map, getting those DTs in, while SOS has to deal with that at home. He's transitioning. He's getting that third base, like you said. He's getting his eco up. He's going into mass Blink Stalkers, which guess what? Is pretty good against Phoenix, right? Like, yeah, the Phoenix player can pick off some probes, but as Classic, you don't need to move out because you're the guy with the better eco, right? SOS has to get something done to you. So he just sits back, absorbs that Phoenix harass, picks off a bunch, and then, like you say, if you've been making Phoenixes all game and that's all you've got, and you lose them, then what have you got? You got nothing. So SOS forced to tap out there. He will move down to the losers match where he's going to meet Astrea. So we'll have another PvP there. And in the winners match, we'll have a banger of a PvZ. Yeah,
so guys, make sure you check out the RSL Revival YouTube, youtube.com/@ReviveSC2. We're trying to build up the RSL Revival YouTube, not just to have a big YouTube, but also to try and get this on everybody's radar. I've talked to some people, like the community, and people are still getting surprised that this kind of event is happening live on Twitch, that it's also on YouTube. People are constantly discovering the RSL, so even if you're already watching this live, if you could subscribe, if you could check out some of these videos, the team has been very meticulous, very hard at work at setting up these playlists, spoiler-free VODs for everybody. It would go a long way to spreading the word that RSL Revival is happening. Get the word out there. We'd appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. We love you guys over there on the YouTube. Thank you so much already. That concludes the second series of the day.
Yeah.
And I think we will be moving to a short break soon, and then we will be back with the third series of the day, guys.
Sounds
boy,
good.
I'm excited, man.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Reynor versus Classic. Welcome back, guys, to day 2 of the RSL Season 2. I'm Stay With Me as Sturgeon, and we're getting ready to go into the winners match here of Group B, and boy, do we have a banger for you. Classic versus Reynor. 2 of the best players in the world duking it out. One of them is going to get first place in this group. One of them is going to fall to the decider match. Sturgeon, who do you have taking this one?
I gotta go with my boy Reynor. The Italian Stallion is in the house. He just won a ZVP. He's warmed up in the matchup. He's looking good. He's confident. We know what Reynor can bring to the table. Classic, on the other hand, he's had some amazing series versus even the likes of Serral and stuff recently.
Yeah.
Kind of going back and forth, and he's got that late game on lock. Let's just get that out there. If it goes to the super late game, I'm going to favor Classic potentially. But I think Reynor is going to have a lot of chances to get damage done before he can get to that kind of super death ball-y sky toss army that's so scary nowadays.
Yeah, I feel like I've been watching Classic dismantle everybody whose name isn't Serral for a number of months right now. And so I was pretty big on the Classic hype train, but you sounded so confident rooting for Reynor that, yeah, maybe it was going to be closer than I thought.
I'm a Reynor fan, man. I love watching Reynor play.
Fantastic.
He's so fast. It's like insane. His mechanics are just out of this world. The run bys, the multi-prongs, and he has such a deep understanding of the matchup. Like, after talking to him a bit about it when he was last here at the RSL, he's just so good and so fast, and he's very exciting to watch. That's kind of my heart pick, right? Maybe my head says Classic, but I potentially would like to see Reynor win. I think it's going to be exciting either way, and I can't wait to see what these guys are going to bring in this series.
Yeah, in any case, I think it's probably going to be a pretty long one if history continues to unfold the way that it has for the last couple of months. Classic has been just this ironclad defensive Protoss in PvZ and also in PvT to some degree. He will mix in a timing attack here and there, but
Right.
I'm wondering if Reynor does decide to get aggressive, is he going to be able to penetrate the armor of Classic? Will they go to a late game, or will we have a more explosive series? We're about to find out. Game number 1 on Ultra Love has loaded in. Reynor, the red Zerg spawning in the bottom left. Classic with a very quick probe scout coming in. Spawning is the top right, blue Protoss.
Absolutely. We see that extractor trick coming out here for Reynor. Like you said, Classic does like to take it late game, but he will pressure in the mid game, right? Like he'll make stalk, he'll go oracles, he'll go stalkers, he'll put the pressure on, and then he'll fall back, take a 4th base, 5th base, try and get the storms down. This time is so close here, the probe just gonna block that drone. That's so annoying. He will have to send it to the 3rd base location and get his hatchery down there. Of course, Reynor's very used to dealing with this. This is very normal these days to go for that block. It just, makes your build order look a little bit different in the early game, but it will end up being pretty similar down the road, as obviously you lose mining time sending that probe out so early to be able to do that. On the back of it, we have the gas and we'll have the pull afterwards. This probe's just going to scoot around in the main base, check nothing weird's going on. You can actually see the 3rd base from there. That's very nice. So he does get confirmation and that's where the hatchery is. That's great for him. Sees the normal timings on the buildings from Reynor, so he knows that he's going to have a pretty standard early game here.
Yeah, everything's looking pretty normal here on both sides. And for Classic, I'm wondering exactly how aggressive he's going to be with this. Occasionally we'll see players get very ambitious with a couple of chrono boosts on that initial gateway, trying to get some adepts cross map because, of course, the 3rd base is going to be extra saturated with drones, given that Reynor had to build his 2nd expansion at that triangle base. And Classic, he's been able to execute really a wide variety of builds. People have been talking about him as the defensive expert, and indeed he is, but he's also just capable of truly anything in basically every matchup at this point. I feel like it's been a very long time since we have had a Protoss player that is as complete the package as Classic is right now in 2025, and Classic has been good for a very long time. I know this firsthand when he absolutely destroyed me in Pro League 11 years ago.
Ooh, what a throwback, dude.
Yeah, man, it's brutal. He's a killer, and it just feels like every year now he is getting better. 2024, he was already fierce. Some people were saying that he was better than Hero, but it was very much up for grabs. In 2025, I think, after GSL Season 2 got wrapped, it's like, okay, well, consensus is Classic is basically the guy to watch.
I mean, dude, he won the RSL. That makes him like the best player in the world, right?
That's the World Championship, isn't it?
Yeah, more important. We do see the Stargate coming out here for Classic. Probably go for his, what he's well known for, that Oracle harass, and then he'll go for some follow-up tech. Reynor's making 6lings here. That's how many you need to just deal with these adepts. You don't have the creep connecting your main and natural, so you maybe want to make a couple more than usual. This queen's at the front, though, going to be able to send that adept pack in. He just sends it back into the middle of the map. Not going to do anything crazy there. And yeah, I'm expecting potentially pretty early 3rd out of Classic. That's what we normally see, kind of 3:30, 3:45 around that time. The 2 adepts do join up here. They're right under the Overlord. Nice position in there by Reynor. We'll be able to see this. Knows exactly what's going on. The Shade will come in, but the Zerglings are waiting. And we have the Spore Cores coming down at a nice timing here.
Yeah, 2nd gateway also going down for Classic in the natural expansion. So not going to be that superbly greedy 3rd base, although with these adepts getting in position and that probe coming down, Nexus should be here momentarily. And in terms of Classic, this is just kind of the bread and butter, safe and standard opening that he loves to go for. Thus far, I think he would have liked to get a little bit more damage done. Is actually hold the phone for a moment. That's going to be a cancel right now. Man, Reynor with these lings in the early game ZVP today, getting so much work done. First versus Astrea was able to get, I think, 2 or 3 cancels, and I want to say game number 1 of that series. And now here versus Classic, already getting a cancel. This Nexus, I want to say about 30 seconds later than it ideally should be here for our Protoss player.
Yeah, that's such a big pickoff by Reynor. They're able to cancel that Nexus. It slows down the Protoss quite a bit. You lose the minerals, obviously. You make the probes even later than you'd like to. And you only got 1 drone on the other side of the map as compensation. If you get your Nexus canceled, you need to get some drones, otherwise it's not great for you. We do see the Roach Warren going down, so probably not going to be any crazy like Ling Hydra Bane or anything like that. We'll have to see. And Reynor's still making lings, just making sure he has enough to be safe here. There's a decent squad of Adepts, no glaives or anything like that. He's going to be transitioning to Blink. He's going to get that +1. These Adepts shade in now. The Revelate going down on the creep tumors. That's very nice to pick that off and stave the creep spread of the Zerg. You don't want that getting out of control. Somehow these lings are still dying around here, even though there's an Oracle. Okay, he actually makes that probe go back. Doesn't lose it though, that's good. This is quite a few Adepts, but the Zerglings are ready. He actually shades in. Ooh, with the Oracle though in the dead airspace. Nice join up there. Is going to pick off some lings. Won't get any worker damage, but shaving off a few lings is nice when your opponent's made so many.
I love that angle. He's actually going to cancels the shade there, instead just going to recall here from the natural expansion. But I love that angle with the Oracle to support in the dead airspace. That is so cool. I want to say that's the first time that I've casted a game where a player was able to utilize that location to that degree. That was very impressive. Reminds me of, you know, sometimes these maps come out, although map makers have gotten a lot better at this, so it's not quite as common a problem as it used to be, but in years past, a map will come out and the Terran players will be like, all right, well, this is the new siege tank spot, and it just completely wrecks, especially in TVZ. It kind of felt like that a little bit right there for Classic. That was beautiful, but in any case, now, Blink and +1 ground weapons coming online for Classic. Very fast 5th and 6th Gas Geyser as well, trying to make up for maybe a little bit of lost time with that delayed third base, and he is already going into his 6-gate Storm. This is the Classic build. This is exactly how you do it. 6 gateways, +1 Blink, Templar Archives, 6 gases on 3 bases. This is the bone that you work with, right? This is the skeletal structure, and from here, there are a couple of different ways that Classic has liked to play it in the past. Occasionally, he will go for a 4th base, but he'll warp in a lot more Stalkers. He'll try to do a Blink Stalker timing and maybe preempt the Zerg before Hive Tech comes online. We've seen him win games versus Rogue outright with timings like that in the past. Occasionally, though, he will go very heavy into the fast Stargates and Fleet Beacon. Instead, I think it might be more of that aggressive option with more Stalkers coming in, with Charge getting started and no extra Stargates just yet.
Yeah, this is great from Classic. He's forcing Reynor to make units, right? Which is not necessarily what you want to do. The Zerg wants to get up to 80, 90 drones, get that powerhouse economy going. And Reynor got his infestation pit at like 6 minutes 15, like super early. He started that. It's now finished. We don't see the tech coming out yet, but he has that option to go for the Hive if he decides to pull the trigger, go towards Lurkers. Some Lings darting in here, not going to be able to get anything done. The Stalkers do push those back. And I did see 2 Evo chambers going down for Reynor, but we only see the 1 upgrade. I'm not sure if they were to block some Adepts or something, but yeah, he's got +1 on the way. It's normal to go for just 1 upgrade in this matchup. And right now, both these guys are starting to power up into the late game. It's looking like 4th base well on the way for Classic, just over halfway done here. And yeah, we got a macro game on our hands here, State.
We do, but a couple of curveballs coming in. 10 Swarm Hosts get started here for Reynor, and I think that ideally for Reynor, Classic would already be going for that 2nd Stargate and Fleet Beacon. That is not the case. We have a Robo nearing completion. Presumably there's going to be an Oracle, or not an Oracle, excuse me, a Warp Prism coming in, the other OP unit here for Classic. Okay, we'll be an Observer first, but there's a lot of aggressive potential with this. Okay, instead, no, it is going to be the 2nd Stargate and the Fleet Beacon. I thought that might just be for a Warp Prism. You know, we get more Gateway units and we just absolutely put the pedal to the floor and go here as Classic. Instead, he's going to be opting for a much more defensive style, going to try and absorb the impact. Now, does he know about the Swarm Host just yet? I'm not sure the Nidus Canal got spotted. Infestation Pit, although it is relatively early, that could just be for a Hive. So Classic might not be aware that this is coming his way just yet. In fact, I don't think he is.
No, dude, he's got to read this correctly, because Reynor's going to be super aggressive here. The Swarm Hosts going to pop out of the Nidus. They're going to send all the Locusts into the natural. At the same time, he's definitely going to send units to the other bases. A 2nd Nidus goes down, and Classic's army, where is it right now? It's kind of at the front. It needs to be back home defending. This is a lot of Locusts coming here. They're going to get landed on top of this base. You got to land them though. Okay, he does land them finally. The cannons go down instantly. If you hold positions, you get a bunch of probes. Oh, actually a stasis ward there somehow. This is pretty good. 9 probes is decent damage. Swarm Hosts, you can't use them forever, right? They kind of drop off eventually, so you do have to get some damage done here as Reynor. And he's, big pick off in the middle. Huge storms go down on that Roach Ravager ball. Classic says, I'm going to be aggressive, push you away from my base so you can't be as aggressive. Ooh, he's getting sent back though.
Yeah, that was a great engagement there by Classic in the middle of the map, getting some damage done. Nidus Canal also gets taken out there. The Mana does another stasis. Is going to trigger here on the Lings, and oh man, the Locust, every single one of them, or nearly every single one, is going to drop on those Stalkers. I don't know if that was intentional for Classic, but if it was,
he's a genius.
Brilliant.
He's an absolute genius.
That hasn't really occurred to me as a tactic, just to try and get them to aggro and force the Zerg player to manually control the Locust, because you know, if they're on the ground, they're not going to reach that natural expansion before they go down, right? And you know, they're so tempo-based. The first one kind of got shut down by the stasis trap, the 2 cannons, the oracles and the stalkers were there. The second one getting diffused basically by the blink stalkers, and now Reynor's gonna have to rely on just pure Roach Ravager aggression here in the third base. Some Templar, a little bit unfortunate there on the positioning, do get taken out by those Roaches at the junction between the third and the fourth. Another wave of Locust now coming into this fourth base with a shield battery. I don't think that Nexus can go down, so Reynor wisely choosing to take down probes instead, but wait. Oh, he's not charging it up with a shield battery, man. I think it could have survived. Maybe there's just too much damage that wouldn't have mattered anyway. Those Locusts actually did work much faster than I expected them to, but in any case, now it is Classic getting aggressive in the heart of Reynor's base.
This is a Protoss nightmare. Nidus worms going up in all of your bases. You're in trouble. You push in. Classic still has a very strong stand-in army, though, with these storms. But if Reynor can hold here, he's going to be very far ahead. He's just got to make the defense. Okay, the Swarm hosts come back. That's great. He's going to have a big Locust wave here to send and try to help his Roach Ravager out. He's got to send it soon, though. Okay, the cooldown's off. Here come the Locusts. They're going to fall in. Nice blinks back. There's actually 2 carriers here, and there's not a huge, like, Hydra count to deal with these if he can get the intercept count. But so many High Templars going down. They are so expensive state.
A total 4 Hydras and 3 Queens. That is the anti-air right here now for Reynor as he's scrambling to get more. In fact, 13 in total being produced right now. And if they're able to join forces, they should be able to deal with the Interceptors. But until then, especially with more Queens and Hydras getting isolated here by the Blink Stalkers, by the carriers at this area of the map, it's going to be a problem for Reynor. The Swarm hosts, they're not very good defensively. They're good when you can pull your opponent apart. And one of the reasons why Classic is being so aggressive with these blinks is, yes, he's also dropping the Locust, but he's sniping the Hydras. And so much of the firepower of this Protoss army now relies in the air. As long as he can keep the anti-air count low for his opponent, Classic can win this game, and the momentum is building.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, the anti-air is a major problem here for Reynor. These Locusts off cooldown right now, just a few coming in at a time, dribs and drabs. You want that big wave. He can just blink back away from these and try to, he's got to blink away from these. There's actually quite a lot there. This game's super close right now in terms of supply, but a lot of that supply is Locusts, which are super supply inefficient. So I think Classic's army may be potentially stronger, especially when the cooldown is off for these Locusts. Another wave coming in, but there's nothing to challenge these carriers right now. A few Hydras just pecking away at them. The Locusts just wishing they could hit air right now. Just flow. Okay, 1 carrier goes down. That's something.
Yeah, that's actually stunning. Reynor had very few Hydras, and I think maybe just these 2 Queens on the map in that moment. He was able to take down both of the carriers. This Warp Prism also might get taken out before this Zealot Warp In completes. In fact, it will, so that's going to have to get reset and warped in back at home. 2 more carriers getting started for Classic. It was looking so dire for Reynor, and frankly, it still is. He's only on 37 drones, but for Classic, you know, he cut carrier production for a long time. He didn't remake that 4th base, and now we have a couple more Locusts popping here in the natural expansion. Reynor, if he's able to make some magic happen and buy time with these Swarm hosts, he might be able to find his way back into this game.
Yeah, I love that he still had the mindset, oh, I need to be aggressive here with these units. I'm still going to put Nidus's. He had that multitasking to do that, the APM. If you don't do that and you just sit back with the Locust, you're almost definitely going to lose. Right, with the Swarm host, sorry, because Classic's economy is so much better here. He's trying to remake this 4th base, but yeah, that Nidus Canal has actually been there the whole game, basically, from when it was put down. And he's got to defend all of these. We don't see any transition into like a Spire or anything like that. So eventually, if the carrier count gets super high, that could be an issue. Lurkers are on the field, though, so they will be able to protect these Swarm hosts a bit. If he's able to get them in position, though, okay, abandon this place with the Swarm host, sends them back in the Nidus. Kind of a wasted Locust wave here. You can't get much done, and the carriers will clean this up.
Yeah, but I like the decision not to go for Aspire here as Reynor. This is such a low economy, scrappy game now at 14 minutes. And yeah, Classic is at 55 workers, Reynor's at 42. But in terms of saturation, the mining is basically even actually Reynor's a little bit ahead of the mineral income just because, yeah, those extra probes, they're not getting much work done. Everything is oversaturated. The main and the natural are mostly mined out. More carriers are in production, and actually we have that Hive tech coming in. I didn't catch Reynor going into Hive, but the infestation pit was very early, so he must have snuck it in at some point over the last few minutes. Vipers are going to be absolutely killer here as an addition into Reynor's composition, especially with the Hydra count slowly growing, because the carriers, again, are the main firepower here for Classic. Yes, he does have some Templar, but the Templar on their own, without a significant gateway army to support them, they're not going to get all that much done.
Yeah, I think the carrier count is kind of Classic's win condition here. Like, at some point, Hydras just can't fight carriers anymore, right? But if you get the Hydras, you can try and pick them off one by one. You can try and whittle them down that way, but it's going to be very difficult here. There's already so many, and we see Immortals coming out as well. They'll kill those swarm hosts super quickly. Reynor being so annoying with these Nidus class. Oh, he does it again! Okay, I think it's intentional now, maybe. Or maybe he's just trying to spot it, I'm not sure. But sending one unit there is so annoying because if you don't manually control the Locust, they just aggro onto the closest thing, right? And if it's one unit and you waste a wave, that really hurts.
Yeah, I like these moves by Classic. I'm gonna, man, Swarm Hosts. Swarm Hosts are the bane of my existence. I know that it doesn't work at pro play, but for whatever reason, when I play on the ladder, these things just absolutely destroy me. So, like, I'm writing in my notes right now, okay, one Stalker blink in, take the aggro on the Locust. One Zealot charge in, take the aggro on the Locust, because for Classic, it might not seem like a lot, but that is 2 full volleys, or nearly full volleys of Locust that have basically been defused, which could have gotten maybe a dozen plus more probes, maybe getting some hull damage done on that Nexus. Instead, Classic, he's stabilized back at home. The Skytoss fleet, it is getting larger, plus 2 air weapons is starting up. A mothership is going to be joining the fray. A 5th base will be coming online very shortly. Reynor only just now has that 4th base getting saturated, and so now, Reynor, he was able to buy time, which I think he needed with those swarm hosts, but Classic has also been able to stabilize back at home very safely, and he's been able to use that time to his own advantage as well with the Skytoss fleet.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit worried here for Reynor. He does have the Vipers to yoink the carriers, but guess what? Classic's added High Templars back into his army, so he's going to be able to feed back those, and that won't be a viable tactic forever here, you know? You're not going to be able to fight a full Skytoss army with Viper Hydra when the opponent has a lot of Storms for the Hydras and feedbacks for the Vipers. Reynor throwing down Nidus is everywhere. I can't believe Classic doesn't see that. It's just out of range there. He probably will spot it in just a moment here. But yeah, Reynor is going to go actually into Infestors. Interesting. Maybe we'll see some Neural at some point. Maybe Microbial Shroud. Maybe that's how he's going to deal with these Interceptors. Yeah. That Locust does get shut down. Okay, so no damage there. And one thing to know is every Nidus Canal that he throws down is costing him resources. These are not free. So, he's got to try and get some damage done. Classic, though, decides it's time to... He's actually sprawling all the way down the right side of the map. I really like this. He can kind of put his army in kind of the center of the map, slightly towards the east side, and he'll be able to cover a lot of access points that the Zerg might be aggressive through. And Reynor just continues to make Vipers. I'm getting... Yeah, this is going to be a lot of Viper Infestors. Going to try and rely on these Spellcasters here as the Zerg.
I think the Microbial Shrouds might be clutch. If he's able to abduct enough of these carriers, and also, I have to list all the things that Zerg needs to do here, and it's going to be a lot. But also, the Microbial Shroud, kind of a double-edged sword, because you want to clump everything under it so they don't take the damage from the Interceptors, but then Storm is so dangerous, right? Because your army is very collected in one location. It's going to come down to, I think, a lot of the Spellcaster control. In terms of brute force, I absolutely favor Classic's army here. In a head-to-head engagement, I think that he wins 10 times out of 10, but if Reynor is able to finesse some snipes on the Archons, on the carriers, with the Vipers, there is a way for him to get back into this, but Classic, he's about to work his way all the way to the natural expansion, Sturgeon.
Oh, absolutely. He's pushing in here. He takes out the Rotron. He takes out the Nidus, so that will finally no longer be a headache for him. Okay, the Swarm Hosts are actually kind of offside here on the other side of the map. Big yoinks on the carriers, but Storms go down on all these Hydras as well. I'm not sure who this engagement is actually favorable for. I think it's Classic right now. How are you going to push up this ramp into all this Sky Toss? A few Locusts go across the map. I don't think that matters that much right now because you just lost 30 drones. This game is no longer about the economy. You got to deal with this Skyforce force in the Skytoss force in your main.
Yeah, the abducts were brilliant there by Reynor, but the issue is Classic was just able to work his way into the natural expansion, and Reynor, he needs to fight from an entrenched position. He cannot just deal with it all by his own, and so he's going to lose the entire main base, his full tech tree. He's back in the Stone Age right now. The army that you see on the screen right now for Reynor is what you get, but the abducts are very good. 3 more carriers getting caught. One of them is going to be able to escape with its life. 2 of them fall in total. Only 4 carriers remaining. There are 16 Hydras on the field right now for Reynor. Army supplies are very even, but that's a little bit disingenuous because 2 more carriers are in production. The Swarm Host and Lurker is also not providing a lot of utility here in this fight. And once more, the engagement coming in. Classic, he's going to shy away. The 3rd base for Classic has fallen. The natural expansion, it's basically mined out. So it doesn't really matter much at this point. And I think Reynor, he just sees the writing on the wall. GG is called. The abducts were good, but Classic being able to work his way into that natural expansion, I feel like was the game-ending blow. If Reynor could have spotted the army movement and intercepted him somewhere along the way, then maybe he can survive, even though it's absolutely an uphill battle. But Classic working his way into the natural, into the main base, killing a lot of the economy, basically resetting the entire tech tree of his opponent, and at the cost of 5 carriers. Yeah, 5 carriers, it's very expensive, but so is an entire tech tree.
Absolutely. I love the way Classic did that. He expanded all the way down the right side of the map, and that's also where he attacked from. And there wasn't like a load of creep spread down there, so he didn't have kind of full vision of the Protoss army. And then Classic did so many small things well that game. Like we mentioned the 1 or 2 units that he sent to aggro the Locust waves onto them so that they couldn't go into his base and kill his probes. All these little maneuvers were great, as was the big picture. You know, he kept aggressively expanding, getting his eco going for that Sky Toss force. He played that so well, honestly. But on Reynor's end, I think it's cool he brought out Swarm Host. So we don't get to see that very often, right? Especially Swarm Host Nidus. I thought that was pretty sick.
Yeah, Reynor is one of these players that has always leaned very heavily on tempo when trying to deal with Protoss and ZVP. You see somebody like Serral, and while they're capable of doing that, usually it's more of a calm, collected approach. If they're not going for a timing attack, he's like, you know what, I'm going to beat you in the end game with the best spellcaster control that StarCraft II players have ever seen. And for Reynor, a lot of the times, he's like, I'm going to beat you with my speed. I'm going to have a Nidus Canal in the main base. I'm going to try and throw one down outside of your 4th, outside of your natural expansion. In this case, he's doing it with Swarm Host, and it almost worked. Classic's crisis management was on point, and he still took a lot of damage from those Swarm Hosts. It was kind of a crazy game. I love to see that approach there from Reynor. I'm not sure if we're going to get that again over the course of this series, but I am still expecting a lot of very aggressive action from our Italian Zerg.
Absolutely. And I loved Classic's kind of killer instinct in that game. He defended for a while, and then he knew the exact moment when it was time to push, right? Like he had all his defense set up, and he said, okay, now I need to go. And my army's like just starting to get good with his first 2 carriers before the Zerg can get out enough anti-air, because he only has Roach, Swarm Host, Queen at that point, just starting to add those Hydras in. And he hit a kind of sweet time in there before all the Hydras, Vipers and stuff were out. He got a critical amount of damage done, put Reynor's drone count super low, and was able to take the game. Like you said, I don't think we'll see that again. I think that's something you throw out like once in a series, perhaps, like in this current meta that we're in. You know, obviously Lurkers, Hydraling Bane is very common these days. I'm kind of expecting something more like that in Game 2 as we load into Persephone. Reynor going to be spawning as the Zerg in red in the top left, and down in the bottom left we have Classic as the blue Protoss.
Yeah, and we'll see what the build is going to be here from Classic. He loves, the 6-gate Templar, +1 and Blink on 3 bases. I feel like I've seen him play that style in excess of like 90% of his PVZs over the majority of this year. It is just his bread and butter. And you know, sometimes when you're a player as capable as Classic, you can truly just do that same archetype of like starting build, and then there are just a couple kind of knobs that you tune here and there over the course of a series. Well, you know, some game you use those pieces, you're like, all right, we're going to really lean heavily on these gateways. We're going to get more aggressive. We're going to try and find some timings with Storm. And then some games like that previous one, it felt like he was kind of feeling things out. He warped in a lot more Stalkers than I feel like I typically would expect him to see. Usually he likes to take a faster 4th base and go to the Stargates more quickly, but he just went right back into the Skytoss fleet. And Classic, in my opinion, is probably the best player in the world at doing that style.
Oh, absolutely. And Persephone here is the map where he had that epic game against Serral. that went for so long. It was well, an amazing match, honestly. And one of the key features here on Persephone is that the bases, the mains, are somewhat close by air compared to ground, right? You can get from main base to main base pretty quick with your air units. So I feel like it leans towards Stargate openers being good, Warp Prism harass being good in the late game, getting those zealots warping in the main, that kind of thing. And this is a map that we quite often do see turn into a split map situation. We'll have to see if either player wants to go for that. I think if I'm Reynor, you probably don't. You want to be more aggressive in the mid game, maybe with the lurkers, that kind of thing. We'll have to see what he wants to go for. It is going to be the Stargate on the side of Classic. No surprises there. We'll probably see some Oracle harass. You only got the one drone last game. I think he'll be hoping for a little bit more this time.
Yeah, 213 Stargate coming in here for Classic. And we'll see what he's able to get done, as that probe is going to be trying to run away from these lings over here on the top right side. Reynor securing his third hatchery in just a moment. Classic just trying to be annoying with this guy, gather as much information as he possibly can.
Yeah, it's always nice to make that hatchery after the probe leaves, just so they don't know. Like, at this level, they're going to make the third most of the time, but you want to get that confirmation, right? Just to be 100% sure there's nothing crazy coming your way. Queen at the front is in a good position here to deal with the Adept, get some damage on it. He's just going to try and pick off a drone before he shades out. He does get it. That's very nice. And yeah, we have Ling Speed finishing up here, so the Adepts will have to leave at some point in the future when that finishes and the Lings come out. And yeah, we'll probably see... Oh, he's going to use the healing zone, which is one of the nice features on this map. You can put your units there, top them back up to full health. We love to see the players use all the features of the map, like specifically. That's very nice. The Adepts are going to come home here. 10 Lings on the way, just to deal with those in case they do a crazy dive. And the Spore Crawlers will be in time for the Oracles again. Unless... Oh, hang on a minute. Okay, there is one Queen. Now that spore is actually a little bit late, so Classic has an opportunity here to dive in and get some probes.
Oh,
two go down. Will he lose the Oracle?
No, barely gonna survive right there. And yeah, that's 213 Stargate out of 217. So that spore finally tuned for a 217 Stargate, but instead 2 more drones are gonna go down because StarCraft II at this level, it's a game of seconds, right? We've said it time and time again. That Oracle just able to get quite enough damage done.
Yeah, in last game, Reynor, don't forget, Reynor was able to get a cancel on the third base of Classic. That was a huge win for him. He's not made as many Lings this time, so he's not going to, go for that. But it's kind of just a difference in the matchup, right? You can get the Lings, go for the cancel, or you can drone a little bit harder, which we see out of Reynor now. Classic, on the other hand, he's just added his Twilight. He's getting his Forge for +1. We're probably going to head into some Blink, Stalker, Oracle pressure here, similar to Game 1, I think. And yeah, we'll have to see how Reynor's going to defend that. We still don't see his units of choice. We don't know if he's going to go for Hydras. Okay, we have one Evo on the way. It's a little bit late. Yeah, I was going to say it's a little bit late to be the +1 melee build. Normally you get that around 4 minutes. So getting it here at 4 minutes, closer to 5 minutes is going to be the missile attacks, the roaches. That's going to be his unit comp here in the mid game.
Yeah, we'll see what the choice is going to be from that Evolution Chamber. Personally, I still kind of favor +1 melee, even if it is going to be late coming in here as Zerg, because this map I feel is very good for the Blink Stalker pressure, and melee attack's usually the best way of dealing with that, in my opinion, with a ton of Links, because that healing zone, it just adds another layer of survivability to the Stalkers. Normally, they don't take that much hull damage at all, ideally, when you're pushing in with the Blink Stalkers and the Oracles, they're mostly just kind of dishing out the damage and blinking back as soon as the shields are gone, but inevitably you always take a little bit of hull damage, and so being able to blink back into the center of the map and top everybody back up at full HP is a good choice, but instead, actually, we have the Evolution Chamber coming in and no upgrades, so look at us, we're the fools.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure if he's forgotten it or if he wants to delay it until he deals with this Adept harass. You want to spend all your resources into the defense. Actually going to have to cancel the 4th base here. That's going to slow his economy down a ton. He does have the layer on the way. Okay, it is going to be the missiles. These Adepts, they did their job. Like, if you can cancel a 4th base with your Oracle and Adepts, you're very happy with that. You're going to be looking good if you go into a macro game. And he's going to keep adding these Stalkers in, these Adepts still.
Oh, man. So close to sniping down that drone. Classic would have loved to have it instead. Oh, actually, a Spire coming in from Reynor.
Wow.
All right. That is very exciting. And interesting also to pair this up with a range missile attack, right? Instead of melee. Usually, if you're going to be going in a Spire, I would expect you to be leaning more heavily onto the Lings. But This might be the situation which some Zergs were doing a number of months ago, where you throw in like 6, 7, maybe even 8 mutas, and it's kind of a hit squad. It snipes a bunch of probes. It forces some static defense and defensive stalker warpins back at home. And then behind that, you kind of transition back into a more normal game.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're hoping for there is that the Protoss overreacts, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they throw down a second Stargate, a fleet beacon, make Phoenixes, and then you go, oh, actually, I'm not making those anymore. I think we saw Serral do that before, and he was able to actually win that game, transitioning back into the Roach Army with the ranged upgrades. We'll have to see how many he wants to go for. I think the fact he's already getting roach speed and missiles tells us he won't go for like mass muta here.
Oh, for sure.
But like, yeah, he did get those gases nice and early, so he's got enough to make about 8 right now. I'd imagine he's going to make around 8, maybe 10, and try and get some damage done. Pick off some probes, kill any units that are out of position. If an Oracle gets F2'd into the main, something like that, and then yeah, he'll transition back into the army, I'd imagine. Just the 6 coming out right now, not a super scary thing, but again, you might force a big response out of the Protoss.
Yeah, but look at Classic's defensive setup right now. The main base already has at least 1 photon cannon. The third's got 2 cannons and a battery. The natural expansion, I'm not exactly sure, but no, Reynor is one of those players that even if he's not going for mutas, he loves to mix in Overlord drops. He loves to go for a Nidus, and so for Classic, just proactively adding in all of the static defense. Those mutas, there's only 6 of them. They're going to fly across map, and they're going to be greeted by a lot of static D and might not be able to get much damage done. I mean, this defense is pretty on point here for Protoss.
Yeah, so solid right now. He does have the fleet beacon coming down, but I don't necessarily think it's 4 Phoenixes. I think he might just be going into his Skytoss army anyway. But, you know, making a few Phoenixes is always the option that you have when you're on double Stargate. We'll have to see if he wants to go for range. I don't know if he will necessarily. Maybe he sees that there aren't more mutas being added to the flock. There's this huge Roach Ling Ravager army pushing across, though. As he's going into Stargates, Reynor's going to try and hit a timing here. He says, I do not want to play the late game against Skydos. I'm going to try and end this early.
Yeah, timing attack getting ready to come in here for Reynor. Classic Storm is ready. Big storms on those Roaches, absorbing the brunt of the damage right there. Follow-up Storm, very good. Being able to catch a lot of those Lings. Also with the Stasis Trap is Classic has been able to shimmy all the way back to the defense of his third base with some excellent Storms, really laying down the pain on this Roach Ravager composition. The Mutas, they try to find another angle of attack over there on the third base. They will not get it, and the Storms, my goodness, it's a Cat 5 Hurricane right here in front of Classic's natural expansion. Reynor still has a supply lead, but look at this Protoss army, Sturgeon.
The supply lead is all in Ravagers, though.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? It's very supply inefficient here. Beautiful Stormers at the end there by Classic, able to push this army back. The Ling reinforcement, though, going to make sure that these Stalkers don't all go home, and he's going to just send it here. He has no follow-up here. This is it. You can't fight Ravagers. You can't fight carriers with Roach Ravager. He's got to make this happen right now. He's looking for any kind of attack angle. He finds none. There's a Stalker in the wall. Reynor's being shut down at every avenue right now. Classic's defense, top-notch.
Yeah, the defense has been good, but I think going for these extra 2 carriers, maybe a little bit ambitious here. He might have thought that he dealt with the majority of the force, but the reinforcements for Reynor are now causing problems. It's just a small number of Stalkers. Those 2 carriers could have been extra units warped in from those gateways to try and deal with this pressure. Instead, a lot of probes actually getting taken down. Reynor, the first volley, the first wave of this attack completely floundered, but it opened the way for this second wave to come in and get some very good trades.
The issue is now, can he get enough damage done before these carriers get here? They are out now. He only has 2 queens here as his anti-air. He's got to kill, well, he's got to do a lot of damage here because he's going to have no anti-air follow-up. He's making more queens at home, okay, but that's still, they're not at the front. And Classic's carriers, we were talking about if that's the right choice. You know, do you want to add more High Templar, get more Storms, you know, to deal with this attack? He does go for the carriers, and in the end, they end up saving him here.
Yeah, it's a long window waiting for those carriers to finish from the Stargates, but once they do, they kind of put a stop to a lot of this aggression. Although, oh my goodness, Reynor, he is doubling down. We have creep tumors in front of Classic's base, and drones are getting pulled to make spore crawlers on the front line. That's going to be the anti-air. We do not have Hydras. This is Queen Roach Ravager with Lings trying to take this down. Only 2 carriers on the field right now as Reynor once again is pushing in. Oh man, this is a crazy timing attack, Sturgeon.
Yeah, big bios go down on the carry, but it does not digest. He's got to take this out. There we go. He gets it. Nice pick off there. The queens are coming in. He picks off another one. This time is looking so good here for Reynor. Just going pedal to the metal. Absolutely ramming these Ravagers into this base here. And the queens are pushing up even further. The spores aren't there yet. Okay, finally they're walking over, waddling over. They're going to join up and be that anti-air. Reynor is such a big stand-in army here. It's so scary for Classic. He's microing these Stalkers as best as he can, trying to get as many shots off as possible. Oh, it's looking scary for Classic, man.
Yeah, but I like the way the Classic is navigating his composition now. He's warping in a ton of Stalkers. I'm not sure how many more carriers we have in production, but if you're able to leverage the economic lead that you have right now as Classic and just get more Stalkers on the field, I think that you might be able to stabilize. The Roach and Ravager numbers are starting to thin out. This one carrier has no interceptors left for the attack, and man, I think even with his Stalker Warpins coming in here for Classic, Reynor might have just broken this fourth base.
Reynor's looking like he's done it, dude. There's so many Ravagers left, so many bios, more than enough Queens and Spores to deal with these air units. And I think Classic's on his last leg here. He's got 3 Stalkers, and that is it. 3 Stalkers and a dream. Classic in so much trouble right now, frantically warping his Stalkers, but they're getting taken out before they can even warp in.
Dude, what a game number 2 from Reynor. That was so exciting. The beginning of that push, it felt like Classic shut it down so hard.
Right.
The storms were some of the best storms that I've seen all RSL, both Season 1 and CS2. The coverage was insane. We had storms on Roaches and Ravagers where, you know, Storm, it comes in like it's a ticket damage, a ticket damage, a ticket damage. They were taking basically every single tick. And the service area of the Storm was massive.
Yeah.
But Reynor, he doubles down and then he triples down. You know, he goes for another wave of Roach Ravager, and then the third wave comes in with Spore Crawlers from the front line getting pulled with drones.
There's like 8 drones or 10 drones or something crazy. Reynor had that killer instinct, like, I need anti-air now. Make Queens. Send 10 drones across the map. Make a bunch of Spores outside his base. What a sick push from Reynor, man.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest Roach Ravager pushes I think I've ever seen. And that was, of course, it's Reynor that makes that happen. This guy has a flair for aggression that is so much fun to watch. And I kind of go back to those 2 carriers getting started when the first wave was very well parried by Classic.
Right.
If we could resume from replay, Classic and Reynor, we don't go for the carriers. Instead, we just double down on the Stalkers. We go for full Stalker production on those gateways. I feel like he holds.
Maybe, yeah. He also moved the Stalkers out aggressively after he pushed back the first wave. I think if he didn't make the carriers, like you said, and he kept the Stalkers near his static D, and he reinforces with High Templar Stalkers, maybe he can hold. There was still a lot of Zerg there, and once you'd run out of Storms, the Roach Ravager is so good against those gateway units, and the static defense almost doesn't matter against that many Ravagers because you're going to bio them all down, right? The cannons go down, the shield batteries go down super quick. I would love to see them play that out from replay like 5 more times.
Yeah.
And just see how it goes. Really, really good push, though.
Yeah, that was
so sick.
I think Classic, because I was also kind of expecting Reynor to try and do some kind of transition, even though you would be limping into the mid and late game if you try to transition out of that.
You're pretty all in with that Roach Ravager, right?
A Queen walk where the Roaches and the Ravagers or the Overlords even getting pulled there to the front lines. You would be limping into the mid or late game, but it just didn't seem like it was going to work. And I think even Classic was expecting Reynor to be like, okay, well, this is failed. Let's try and pull back. But just the tenacity to continue to push in right there is going to bring us to a game number 3 in pretty spectacular fashion. That was not the result I was expecting after the start of that push. But map number 3 has loaded up. We're going to talk about for the decider match here. This is the winner's match. The series number 3 here in Group B, the winner of this map is going to be going on to the playoffs of the RSL. The loser is going to have to go to the deciding match.
Absolutely. Reynor bringing the excitement in this series, taking it to Classic. He doesn't want anything to do with that late game, flying Corruptors and Broodlords and Vipers around for 30 minutes. He says, nope, I'm going to take it to you. I'm going to get damage done or even just kill you in the mid game. Beautiful timing push there in game number 2. Game 1, he went for that multi-prong harass with the Nidus Swarm host. Classic's defense looked amazing in game 1, and it was looking amazing in game 2, until I feel like he got a little bit overconfident, perhaps, once he pushed back the first wave. But like, he doesn't see what we see. He doesn't know that Reynor's just full sending it with Lings behind that. He doesn't know the drones are coming across the map. So yeah, I think Reynor's going to not do the same build necessarily, but I think he will still be the aggressor in this last game.
He came very close with the Swarmhost 2 breaking Classic in that game number 1, and then in game number 2, he very clearly did. Even though the beginning engagement did not go his way, he was able to actually pull it through with just relentless aggression. It's why Reynor is one of the most fun Zerg players to watch, in my opinion, is that his game is not the typical Zerg game. He loves to just go pedal to the metal, all gas, no brakes, especially against a defensive Protoss player like Classic, because in my opinion, there is no Protoss player that is better at navigating the late game than Classic. You don't really want to get there. I mean, we saw Cyril be able to do it, but Cyril's like the 1 in a million player that might stand that chance. And even Reynor, of course he can win those late games versus Classic, but if you have a better shot of doing it in the early game or the mid game, why not take your chances with this aggressive play? I'm so keen on figuring out what he's going to do here in game number 3, because I think that I would be surprised if we saw him just hang back, try to play the macro game, go into the Supreme late game versus Classic. I think it's going to be some other aggressive move, and Reynor has such a repertoire of builds that...
Oh yeah, dude, he has so many timings, so many ways to harass you and deal damage. I love the mutas as well. Like, in the end, they didn't really kind of get much damage done. But I think they distracted Classic in a way, and I'm not sure if he was ready for that big attack to follow up so quickly. You know, sometimes Zergs will do the mutas and then tech into lurkers behind it and sit back on a huge economy. Reynor opted for the more aggressive route. I think that suits his style more. I think that's how he should be playing against Classic. There's basically one dude in the world, and his name's Cyril, who can actually be favored against Classic in the ultra late game. So I like his strategy choices so far. Game 3 could be different. Right now we see it as the standard Oracle opener here from Classic. I like this little shade into the main where the creep isn't. The Lings cannot engage here. He'll pick they would just get picked off. He'd lose a couple, and the Adept would shade out. Looks like that will be the case anyway. He'd love to get a drone. Ooh. Oh, cancels the shade. Oh, not targeting these drones quite. No!
Oh my
3
goodness.
drones. Okay, I think he got 1 at the end there, but that could have been 2. Little hiccup there from Classic. Reynor will take that though. 1 drone for 1 Adept, not bad.
Yeah, let's see if this Adept. Okay, certainly not going to be able to complete that shade as well.
If that one did go in though,
if it did go in, I mean, it might have been able to get some damage done. But the thing is, the Adepts are crucial to anchoring the defense of their Nexus. If you lose all the Adepts in the early game, this Oracle has to stay here until the next Oracle is out. And I don't even think we have that second Oracle in production. It's in fact a very fast Twilight Council and 3 more gateways. Are we going to have something like Glaives coming in?
It looks like we may here. There's actually no gas at the natural for Classic right now. I'm starting to get a little bit worried. Okay, it is going to be the Glaives. There's no gas at the natural. If Reynor could see that, he would know something is up. And now the key thing for Reynor is he cannot drone too hard, right? If you go up to 55 drones, 60 drones, you've made too many. You might just die. So he's got to read this. He's still making drones. Okay, now he sees 3 Adepts posturing aggressively on the map. He's going to make some more Lings. It's all about if Reynor can read this in time now. Obviously, Classic has a 3rd base. It's not like he can't keep making workers and get a good economy, but he is definitely going to be the aggressor here. And the big warpings are going to start to begin now. He only made the 1 Oracle, like you said, just to get that Adept Glaive tech going as quick as possible. This is going to hit really hard.
Yeah, Reynor trying to find out exactly what the game plan is. Probably a little bit confused about the lack of Oracle pressure on his side of the map. He's going to be coming back into the 3rd base. Still seeing only 2 Adepts. That is quite normal. Maybe the lack of probes could be a little bit alarming. You would expect 1 or 2 of them to potentially be saturating that. And now, alarm bells should be ringing as he sees a ton of Adepts just surrounding this area over here in the bottom left.
Yeah, Reynor may be thinking he's overdroned a little bit and won't have enough units, so he's actually going to make a spine call in one of his bases here. That will kind of create an anchor. Okay, the Adept, there's so many Adepts shaded in here. The Lings are going to try to do what they can, but so many got past already. Beautiful Evo wall in the natural. You love to see it. These Adepts will be able to take that out, but it's buying Reynor valuable time here to make more units. He just made drones. He just made a bunch of drones. Wow. Okay, but he's actually going to be able to deal with these somewhat. The spine caller finishes just in time. That is absolutely clutch. And Reynor hasn't lost any drones yet.
Yeah, very few drones, if any, have gone down. And the bravery of Reynor to throw down 8 more drones while this pressure was mounting. And just continue to handle the defense. 1 drone in total has fallen. That was not from the Glaive's attack. That was in the very early game. The one Adept that just kind of got sent on a mission into the main base of Reynor, and Classic is going to be transitioning out of this. He wasn't all in with that push by any means. You can see he has a fully saturated third base. In fact, the worker counts are equal, but this is a lot of resources invested into Adepts, which are not going to scale well into the mid or late game.
He didn't lose a single drone, dude. Such a sick defense there by Reynor. And aggressively droning through that. What a madman. Sometimes these Adept pressure builds can just kill you if you're not ready, right? But he had the response perfect. Spinecrawler the third. Evo to block the natural. Just beautifully done. Classic, like you said, he's not all in. He did keep making probes throughout that. He actually has the worker lead right now. And he's pivoting into Storm, into Blink. Going to be getting his +1 from the Forge. So he's going to try and take this to a later game here, as eventually these Adepts will be pushed back to the other side of the map. Reynor has a decent army right now.
Interesting that we have 4 more gateways and a Robo in production here for Classic. He is going beyond the 6-gate +1 Blink and Storm that he typically goes to because of the initial gateways he had for the Glaives. I think this is going to be 8 gateways in total. And the robotics facility, at least to me, telegraphs the potential for some aggression with a Warp Prism. Now, only time is going to tell whether that is the avenue that Classic wants to go by, because there's also potential for Reynor to get aggressive, right? This could be Classic preemptively getting ready to absorb the impact of Reynor should he decide to go for another Queen Walk with Roach Ravager Ling, or some other aggressive option like Swarm Host as we saw in the past. But that is not the game Reynor is playing. Instead, he is macroing up, and Classic, you know, I was wondering, are you going to get aggressive? He is very quickly taking gases at that 4th base. Numbers 7 and 8 are going up, so I think it is just extra safety gateways. He's going to try and play that defensive game.
Yeah, this is Classic's bread and butter, right? Get that 4th base, get your Storm first of all so that you're safe. Eventually transition into Stargate, start going for that Sky Toss army, which is so deadly. Reynor is going to go for Lurkers here. We'll see him get the range and Burrow upgrade as his hive finishes. And he's going to try and be aggressive before Classic can make the pivot to that big Sky Toss army that we were talking about. A few Adepts go down in the middle of the map. Not the biggest deal at this point. Like you said, they do drop off hard. You'd obviously like to keep them alive if you could, but not a big deal here. And that War Prism is out. I'd love to see Classic go for some Zealot run-bys and stuff like that on this kind of map, where you can put it in the corner, you can bring it all the way around the top and left side to the main base, and go for that kind of harass.
Second Robo now coming in for Classic. He's actually committing very hard to the ground-based army, adding in Immortals as well. Reynor, I think, will not be anticipating this. Okay, finally we have the second Stargate. Likely a Fleet Beacon will be following soon, but the fact that this transition is coming in so late here for Classic, he is really preparing to absorb some kind of attack. And yes, Reynor is pressuring with Roaches and Lings, at both the 4th and the 3rd base, trying to snipe down these Templar. Able to get at least one of them here with this 5 Roach hit squad. Gets a second. Can he get a third? Well, he gets an Archon morphing in. That is good enough here for Reynor, and this was not a very committed attack. He's going into high-tech lurkers. Seismic Spines has just started researching. +2 range weapons is coming online. Tons of Hydras and Lings are in production. I like that move a lot there by Reynor. Classic was well prepared to deal with a large-scale timing attack. That is not what Reynor did. Reynor came in, he traded very cost-effectively with units that aren't going to be scaling well into the late game, a lot of Roaches, and he's remaxing on these high-power, high-tech units, the Lurkers with the Hydras and the Lings.
He's making a Nidus Worm, dude. He's going to be making them everywhere. He's going to try and get those Lurkers in the main base, behind the mineral lines, be annoying everywhere. Okay, Classic did try to send the War Prism to main. Reynor deflects beautifully while he pushes the front with all these Lurkers. There's a few Storms, but there's so much Zerg ground army right now, and he only has a couple of Immortals. It's not like Maru numbers like we saw the other day. He's not going to be able to fight these Lurkers head on. He actually has to evacuate the 4th base with all of those probes.
Yeah, now that Seismic Spines is complete, these Lurkers, their value is just riding so quickly. And oh man, I like this move by Classic, aggressively blinking on top of these Lurkers in the middle. Is like, all right, you will take down my 12 o'clock base, but I will find some compensation by trading effectively here in the center. But honestly, I say effectively, this engagement actually went so well for Reynor, despite being caught out of position, and the Ling flank was a big part of that. He was able to surround the Archon. He might have even been able to pick up a couple of Templar there. And now he's coming to converge on both sides of this army. army. Classic, you cannot escape in time. Classic, he's winning the fight on the left side, so he's going to blink all the way over there. But the Roaches and Hydras, excuse me, coming in again from the main. Classic is absolutely on the run, and Reynor is in a commanding position.
You can't leave! Zerg coming from all angles. Reynor surrounds that Protoss force with the Lurkers, with the Hydras. Classic lost his fourth base. Forced to basically all in there. You cannot just go back, make your fourth base and chill against the Zerg with that huge economy and all the tech that he wants. He's forced to just send it basically and hope something works out. Reynor was there though, ready with the defense, able to take that game number 3. I knew he would do it, man.
Yeah, man, your confidence absolutely paid off right there. Reynor played such a fantastic series, even the game that he lost. I mean, he was very impressive with the Swarm Host Nidus play, and then Game 2 and Game 3. Game 2 just winning with sheer tenacity, and Game 3, that defense was so perfect against the Glaive Adepts. He lost 0 drones.
He didn't lose a drone.
And that wasn't even like a delayed Glaive Adepts push. We had one Oracle come out of one Stargate, and then behind that it was the Twilight Council, the additional gateways, and the fact that he lost no drones, and it's not like he cut drones significantly either. The attack started, he queued up 8 more. The defense was just so on point, carried that momentum into the mid game, and then with a clutch hive tech timing of Hydras, of Lurkers, of Lings, just able to absolutely pummel the 12 o'clock base and the army of Classic. Beautiful series by Reynor. He's going to advance first in this group, but we do still have 2 series left to play.
Absolutely. I love the way Reynor made it look like a similar timing from game number 2. He pressured with the Roachling in the mid game, and maybe Classic thought, oh, this is going to be the same thing. But it wasn't. It was Lurkers behind it. And yeah, just such a good variety of builds from Reynor in this series. Absolute joy to watch. Now, we do have the losers match coming up. We're going to have another PvP on our hand state. It is, of course, going to be Astrea versus SOS. The winner of that will go to the tiebreak match where they will face Classic.
Yeah, nothing but Protoss left here in Group B is SOS and Astrea. I feel like that's going to be a very close series between those two. The winner of them is going to have the privilege of going against the RSL Season 1 champion in Classic to determine who is going to be advancing from Group B into the playoffs.
Yep, absolutely, guys. Check out the Patreon, RSL Patreon, patreon.com/ReviveSC2. There's a bunch of tiers, a bunch of different ways you can support the RSL. And Patrons get plenty of perks. You can vote for the maps. You can vote for the players. Tasteless will send you a DM. I don't know. There's all kinds of things, guys. Check it out. Tiers for everybody. Thank you so much to everyone so far who supported. You are what is keeping the RSL going right now. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do the live event at the end of the year if it wasn't for all the backers on Patreon as well. And I cannot wait to get into that. But before then, we got to get through Season 2, guys. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, Group B is going to continue with the last 2 series of the day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RSL. It's going to be Tasteless and Sturgeon casting this next game of SOS versus Astrea. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well, dude. We've had some great games so far. Good PvPs, PvZ action. Looking forward to our next series here.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Out of all the players I've ever cast, SOS is maybe my favorite. Like, historically, I just loved so many of the novel builds and ideas he would bring, and he would create these games that never really looked like anything we would see from anybody else. But it's not the same SOS from before. Like, this is an SOS who has not been as active. Obviously, StarCraft II, especially, there was this whole period this year where there was basically no major tournaments, but he hadn't been that active. He's still good enough to qualify for your GSL, for your RSL, tournaments like that. But I'm curious what he can come up with here. Astrea's been very active. He's looking really good. This should be a close match. I mean, SOS can still, I think, take a game off almost anybody.
Absolutely. This is kind of version 2 of SOS. Like, we used to know him for the hyper-aggression, but in that first series today, we saw him against Classic just say, I'm perfectly happy expanding and actually defending your aggression. So he's kind of, developing his play more, getting a more variety of styles. I think Astrea also kind of likes to play defensively in PvP. Like, he definitely can do, aggressive builds as well. But I think we might actually, this is the best chance we have of getting some good macro PvPs today, I think.
I feel like with my luck, I never end up with a long, crazy PvP. And I mean that like that's too bad. I would like to have actually a crazy long macro game PvP. A lot of them end up being super short for whatever reason. But I would welcome that. That would be fun. We'll see if this map is going to allow any kind of play like that. But yeah, I don't know what exactly to expect with these two as they come into this. Again, the loser is out here in the group phase of the tournament. This is a map also. It's new enough, and there's enough ideas, as you can see Mapu's already showing us, that maybe there's some weird tricks, there's some one-offs with cheese or something like that that we might have not thought of before.
Yeah, maybe some nice proxy locations you can hide a build in that someone's not going to be used to checking. We see all those gold minerals there giving you access to the rest of the map in that base in the corner. We do see that lead to some interesting builds, like in other matchups, especially with drops and all-ins and that kind of stuff. Here in PvP is going to be a nice little spot to fly a Warp Prism in. We do see more blue minerals on this side. So there's a lot of different kind of map features that you need to be aware of here. We see both players opening 2 gate here, so neither one's going to be going for a super fast Nexus. And there could be a lot of potential for aggression here in game number 1. This probe going to just slowly go through the zones in the middle. I always wonder why they don't rally those around the slow zones.
I was going to say, it's like, it's kind of painful to watch.
Yeah.
But
It's pretty painful, but nonetheless, that probe will make its way to the other side of the map. And there it is. We see the first pylon going down in actually his corner of the map.
Yeah, so when you see a pylon in a position like this, you're not necessarily thinking like a proxy robo or something, right? It seems like it's more to make a tech that you just would not be able to see at this distance. So maybe it's going to be DT?
Definitely a possibility here. Okay, Tasters, I think you may have called it here. We see the Twilight going down. Yeah, you're not going to check here, right? If you're looking for proxies, you're going to look around your corners of the map. You're going to look around the middle of the map. If it's going to, a proxy robot wants to be close to your base, obviously, to get that Immortal, get that War Prism there quickly. But you're basically very unlikely to check your opponent's corner of the map. So I really like this position of the proxy here for SOS. And it's up to if Astrea is going to be able to sniff this out or not. Okay, 2 Stalkers do pick off this first probe. Nice little pick off there. And yeah, we'll see. He does have the 2 gates, so he has 2 Stalkers of his own.
Oh, okay. So it's not going to be DT, but it's hidden blink. That's interesting because if you don't see the
never mind.
It's so funny because in StarCraft II specifically, unlike StarCraft 1, there's so many places you can hide a building.
Right.
This is maybe one of the most far out locations.
Yeah.
For a map like this, but that's insane. He sees it. So the element of surprise is gone. Although I don't think this hurts SOS so much as it just takes away that element of surprise, the opportunity to maybe blindside his opponent with a lot of stalkers with blink to where he could snowball damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see the Robo coming down here for Astrea. That's the perfect response, right? You want to get more. You cannot lose a Stalker, though, when you're doing a Blink Stalker all in. Oh, it goes down. Rough start here for SOS. Astrea has actually been super aggressive here. Gets the Stalkers in before that block. And if he depowers these gateways, okay, no, he's going to go for the probes instead. Interesting choice here. He's going to pick off a few to begin with. Already 3 going down. Tasters, this is a lot of damage.
I mean, this number of Stalkers can keep one-shotting probes. He's going to recall it here, deciding not to loop around. I don't know why in my head I felt like he had to hard commit there and try to kill more. But you've already gotten a couple probe kills versus a guy who's on one base. You're making your Immortal. I don't see any cracks right now in Astrea's position at all.
Absolutely. I mean, SOS is on 18 workers, not a great economy, obviously. He's got to make this happen with what he's got. Astrea's doing the right thing, though. He's making a shield battery. He's getting Immortals out as quickly as he can. It's going to be scary for a moment, but if he can survive until you get like 2-3 Immortals out, he could be able to hold this off. He didn't actually decide to take out that Twilight, just lets it live. And here comes the first push. He's going to go up the ramp. He's going to use that Guardian Shield. A couple units going down here for Astrea, but he manages to push this Stalker back. So many weak Stalkers right now. The Blink ability is just saving them in time.
He's going to try to come up again here. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, maybe he could try to go into the main, but that doesn't seem like it's, the longer it takes you to try to go into the main, the less likely it is to work. Like, there's really is hinged on this working right away. Good shimmy back with the Immortal. Even soaking up just enough damage on the hull before refilling that at the battery. It's funny. It's like, there really truly can be like perfect exchanges. Like the fact that there was enough damage on that Immortal and it still was just perfectly like moving back, and then the battery can still come and fill it in, and then you could see SOS was already in too deep, right? Got stuck on the ramp, was taken out. I can't believe he found that proxy. I guess it's not even a proxy. Sometimes I use the wrong terms as long as I've casted. It's a hidden building,
right?
In an extremely obscure location on the map.
That's insane. It maybe would have even been better to have built it in his main base in that situation. It's a gamble, right? You throw that building down in the corner. You pray your opponent doesn't find it. If they don't, they're at a significant disadvantage. If you go Stargate there, you can just die, right? Like against Blink Stalkers. But he was able to, first of all, spot it, and then second of all, have the perfect response of shield batteries and Immortals. Kind of textbook defense. Even sending the 4 Stalkers across, that's so scary to do. Send 4 Stalkers to your opponent's main while you're being all in with a proxy. Beautiful play by Astrea.
I don't know if SOS would have tried to force win so hard had the probes not been killed, but I mean, it's hard for there to be more that could go wrong in that game early on. You know, PvPs are shorter than a lot of the other matchups in StarCraft II.
Yeah.
But I mean, for a game even that short, I mean, can you think of another mistake that could have been made? Not even a mistake, but yeah, an unfortunate thing that happens. When you hide a building, you are just kind of gambling a little bit, right? If they can send the probe to that location and they can find whether it's the worker or the pylon or the building, they can usually figure out what you're doing. But yeah, Stalkers in the main.
He even lost that 1 Stalker really early, right?
Yeah.
And when you're doing an all-in, like every single unit counts. You need that critical mass to start one-shotting the units of the opponent in the natural, and then you can start to snowball it. It gets out of control, and you can force the win that way. But yeah, just textbook defense by Astrea. Really impressed there. The second map is going to be ley lines, and I'm curious if SOS is going to be aggressive again, or if he will fall back to his kind of one-gate Nexus expand, which you saw against his opponent in the first game against Classic. And I'm also curious what Astrea is going to do. He's looking very relaxed right now. Both players having a big stretch. Stretch it out, boys.
God. Oh, the stretching is synced up. Everybody at home, stretch it out.
Dude, it's the Protoss player thing on the head that connects them all.
That's
they said
right.
It's time to stretch, boy.
This is going to be hopefully a better game. You know, because there's so many different build orders that can happen in PvP, that all makes sense. You have so many possible interactions where I think the early game takes a little bit more nuance than some of the other early games. TVT's like this a little bit too, where there's like so many different add-ons and unit compositions you can make. We're going to hop into game number 2 now. Right now, Astrea with a 1-0 lead versus SOS. Bottom left, SOS. Top right, Astrea.
Yeah, I like the point you made there. Like the build orders matter so much, right? They're not like necessarily completely hard counter auto wins, but you definitely do have some advantages, right? If you go Blink Stalkers against a Stargate, that's going to be good for you. If you go Blink Stalkers against a Robo with the Mortals, not so good. And you have to kind of try and find a way to play around it. I think he did actually hallucinate a Phoenix in that game, but it wasn't there in time to let him blink into the main and be annoying with his Blink Stalker, so he was kind of forced to just send it up the natural ramp, which is exactly what Astrea wants. He was perfectly positioned to deal with that. And yeah, anyway, we'll have to see what's going to happen here in game 2. Astrea going for that slightly quicker second gas. Both players on just the 1 gate right now. Okay, second gate going down here for Astrea. SOS only has the 1 gate, so I think he might be playing the build we saw earlier against Classic, get that quick Nexus, try to go into a slightly more macro-based PvP. Yeah, and we'll have to see what Astrea is cooking up here.
Yeah, you know, Astrea coming off of a very smooth victory. Those really are the best if you're in a tournament where, your opponent, like a car wreck, like totals the build order. Like, before the thing is really launched and is in orbit and doing what it's supposed to do. It's just so many things around. You go, okay, it's a disaster over on the other computer. So I can at least sit comfortable with that. SOS is a very, very relaxed player. So I think he can brush this off and come back. This is a proxy pylon. Remember when I messed up what I called it when it was really a hidden pylon? This is a proxy pylon. This is just dirty.
That's right outside the natural there. Could you be any more obvious? But sometimes, maybe your opponent's got to go check your corner of the map. Sometimes the obvious spots end up working out.
If you look at SOS's probe on the mini-map, I mean, it's going to come around.
Oh, nope. Okay, it just sees it.
It does see it. This is so close.
Yeah, but you can't necessarily walk out and kill this.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have right now?
Yeah, the sentry's going to take its crappy Ghostbuster blaster and just not be able to do anything to this. And, that's one of those things, like, even if you see it, you go, well, I have the wrong unit. The sentry doesn't help me at all.
Right.
And the gateway, I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough by how close the pylon is here for the proxy, the gateway, that he didn't quite scout, he could guess it's there, but this makes it a launching pad for basically an all-in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to be careful as well. You don't want to try and kill that pylon or anything because Astrea has 2 stalkers walking across the map. You could just lose a sentry, right? So you got to conserve these units. Dude, this is amazing how close this is to his base.
I don't know why. I decided in my head this had to be an immortal, but no, a War Prism is very good too. You can just juggle the stalkers.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, you can go for the War Prism, like you said. Send the stalkers into the main. Be annoying with them. Oh, nice force field. Okay, actually managing to trap these stalkers. 3 sentries going to take... Oh, never mind, tasteless.
Shine my mouse pad. That was crazy. Okay. I've never been more confident of an outcome, and then it was just changed in front of my eyes.
Wow, he pulled all the probes already. Really respecting this harass potential, and I think he needs to because those 4 stalkers will one-shot a probe. The Guardian Shield,
I think that was a
little bit preemptive.
A little bit of a fumble there with the hand on the keyboard.
Right.
I don't think that there's a reason why you would have made that. Now, that actually might matter in moments like this. Like, that could have been, a force field or Guardian Shield later on during a commit. So he's going to juggle up. Oh, wait, hold on. He might not be able to pull it off now. I think you need to at least get the first wave up there to make this work.
Yeah, he has 1 battery at the top
he's
of the
trying to... Oh, God, he's just not quite over the edge.
This is so scary here for SOS. He has that 1 battery there. He doesn't have one, like, kind of lower in his main. He is making it now. This War Prism's just trying to get in, but it can't find any headway there.
Yeah, I wonder if it makes sense to make a battery at the proxy. I don't know. So he just commits into here, and the question is, do you elevator over or out? So he goes out. Okay, great control. Now he's drained the energy from the sentries, at least most of it. Oh, I thought for a second that was SOS doing this to his own base. So at that point, I'm like, what?
Dude, this is looking so good for Astrea right now.
Yeah.
He picked up units, his army supply is huge, 32 to 14 supply. He just got too much, and he's got a War Prism to save all his weak units.
Well, this is a really tough one to hold off, especially when you see the probes get pulled and they get clipped out immediately, and you go, okay, well, this isn't getting any better. He's going to evacuate the probes. GG, Astrea.
Wow, Astrea popped off. Did you see that? He jumped up in his seat there.
Did he? Okay.
Yeah, a little pop-off from Astrea. Sick.
Well, super short PvPs.
Yeah.
Very simple. The all-in worked for that game. In game 1, everything kind of fell apart for SOS. You can I told you before we started this, I said I never have long PvPs when I cast them. I remember watching Showtime stream once, and there was like some game where it was split half map.
A PvP?
Yeah, it was so epic. This was like a long time ago. I remember watching it and thinking, like, I will never cast a game like this. For some reason, if I'm here in the caster seat, it won't happen.
You even tried to caster curse it, but that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
The bad luck
Remember
is just too strong.
I was going to cast Max Packs yesterday, and then I thought he would probably get out of the group.
you opened the show like, oh, guys, I've never cast Max Pack.
Never done it.
So excited. You still haven't cast Max Pack?
No, it might never happen.
You might get a macro PvP one day because Astrea will move on to play Classic.
That's right.
See that segue? In the tiebreaker here.
So good. So SOS has died. It's going to be Astrea and Classic. He dies literally. That's the rules of RSL.
Life,
when you lose in the game, in the tournament, you lose in real life. Glad to have SOS with us here, but he was not able to survive. So it's going to be Astrea versus Classic coming up. This should be a really good match. Classic is really, he's looking to be in the best form he's been in since, was it 10 years ago, where he was like basically the best Protoss, kind of like when Legacy of the Void was fresh out of the oven. But, Astrea's definitely got a shot. Before we go, we're going to do a quick plug here, guys. We have not just this season, we have a 3rd season that's going to be in November. And After that, in December, we're going to have an offline finals. In other words, it's going to be the casters, the players, and the fans all in one place.
All the Hulkamaniacs.
For $15 million. All on the line. 15 million won, guys. It's going to be an amazing event. We are shopping around to different venues to figure out what makes sense. So we're going to have more information on that. We will have tickets on sale. I can't remember what Patreon. I should actually check this since we're going to be doing this. I'll check after the show today. But one of the higher Patreon tiers, you automatically get a ticket. Those are probably going to sell out pretty quickly.
The VIPs, as it were.
The VIPs, that's right. So we're going to go to a break. We come back, another PvP before we close out Group B for the show. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. It's time for the final best of 3 of the evening. This is going to be Astrea versus Classic. Classic, the RSL Season 1 champion. Astrea looking strong, though. This could be an interesting match.
Yeah, Astrea's been really spicy in these PvPs, man. That series was over so quickly. I almost couldn't believe it. And Classic also, in his games versus SOS, was very aggressive. So I kind of don't know what games we're going to get here. Were they playing aggressive as like a stylistic choice to try and match up against SOS? Is that just the way they like playing PvP right now? Because if it's just the way they like playing PvP, we might have an even faster series.
Yeah, well, I mean, PvP can be short, can be really, really short. So we're going to get into this match in a second here. Now, Classic is just in extremely good form. Astrea certainly has got a shot. He's an extremely strong player. I don't really feel like there's any player that Astrea couldn't take out in a best of 3, especially just due to the nature of PvP. I mean, PvP, there are so many possible openings and interactions. I don't know that Astrea beats Classic if we go into like a 15-minute game.
Yeah, that's a tall order against Classic. But if there's any matchup you're going to beat Classic in the late game, I feel like it probably is going to be PvP because it's kind of... I mean, Protoss PvP late game is still like you're fighting with sticks and stones for whatever reason. You're still just making gateway units. You just take more bases.
You're just battling in rock, paper, scissors forever.
We truly are the cavemen of StarCraft.
We are.
It's funny for the high-tech race. This is just what we've
We
evolved
are
to.
the apes, but the apes from Planet of the Apes. Okay?
Yeah,
like
there you go. I like that.
So we've got Classic here on the right and Astrea here on the left. And we have okay, it's going to be Pylon on low ground for both sides. Your natural expansion does start on high ground.
Yeah, people love to go for the fast expansion on high ground maps in PvP. It makes a very big difference in terms of the defender's advantage, so no surprise to see either player going for that Pylon on the low ground here. You can play a little bit of a mind game, though. Build your wall on the low ground and feign the expansion and still deal out some kind of attack. I feel like that's usually a bit rare these days. People have gotten very good at scouting these kind of strategies coming, but it is something you got to keep in the back of your mind a little bit as our probes pass each other and the slow motion here.
Yeah, it's one of these things where I guess the idea gets popular early on, but people are so good at ferreting out, oh, are you faking this? Okay, well then, and I think there's also a lot of counterplay to that too. So we probably won't have it this time, but it would be cool. I'd welcome it if we did end up seeing it. Now, if they're both playing it so far what looks like this could be just quick expanding on both sides, which could mean we would have a longer game overall.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, longer than the last series, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to get shorter than the last game. So really fast Nexus here for Astrea. He actually only had 1 probe mining gas there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good catch. Tasteless on the gas mining. Astrea going to get the faster Nexus here, and Classic remains to be seen whether he will be going for a faster expansion. He is already on 2 Vespene Geysers. It still is just the 1 gateway expansion, but he might allow that Zealot to finish. And he actually even went for a Pylon here on the wall.
Yeah.
Astrea, a little bit of a Manor Pylon, making it harder for him to get the ideal wall in set up.
Yeah, and there's
a shield battery.
Okay, so I haven't seen this one. Wow, okay, so there's a Zealot inbound. Not the fastest one inbound. It is going to go through the slower thing. And this is going to be double battery versus single battery.
Ooh, is that Pylon going to go down before the batteries are done?
Okay, this is just... I think this rush just doesn't work at all.
Oh, that is so close. Oh, oh, that feels so bad here for Classic. What a disaster of an early game.
That, whenever I see something that's like that novel of an opening, I get so excited, but then I'm trying to think, okay, how does this work, right? I mean, there's a reason why you don't see one Zella go across the map ever. Not since StarCraft II basically came out. Like maybe the first few months or something, people were doing stuff like this, but nowadays people basically have an answer. Now the Zealot's going back home and there's an Adept in the main, switching into the natural. So you could get kills here, but there's already a battery here.
Yeah, the battery is perfect at nullifying just one Adept. It'll take a very long time for it to actually work its way through the shields of these probes, but Classic, you might as well try, I guess, is going to cancel the Shade. At the very least, a consolation prize. All right, he does get one because it's out of range of the shield battery, but he also got a lot of lost mining time there for Astrea. That was 4 or 5 probes, which didn't mine for maybe half a minute or so, which it's not very consequential, but in Classic's position, you kind of got to take what you can get, right?
Yeah. So now we have the Oracle coming out here, and he can moving shot down this first Stalker. And this could be an overextension here from Classic. Now he's going to get the third. Oh! I was wondering if that slower field could be taken advantage of here. Oh my god. You got to micro around that. So he's going to eat a couple more shots before being able to get out of range there of those shots. So we have a second Oracle being made now. Gateway's coming down. What's been maybe one of the most unusual early games I've ever seen?
Yeah, it's been, PvP. Especially at this level. I feel like if you're the dregs like me, you might see this much more often, but in this situation, no. And wow, man, these probes venturing far from the safety of their shield battery are going to get caught out, mining those gold mineral patches, trying to unlock the bottom left side of the base. And actually, Astrea, I think he expected to be able to take down that stasis trap, but he definitely didn't. That is a lot of idle probes right now, a lot of money lost here for Astrea. As you can just see the income differential, 2 red arrows now pointing in the advantage here of Classic, as the early game was not what he wanted, but these Oracles have absolutely brought him back into this one.
Yeah, great stun, and he's going to set up another one. This time, though, Astrea's ready, leaving just one probe there to eat that shot. Nice, double-pronged harass here. Now, Astrea is moving across the map very quickly, and Mop was going to make very sure that we see exactly how much this slows these down. I am surprised we don't see shift-clicking around that. I guess StarCraft II is so fast, sometimes it's better to just right-click this and make sure you've got everything working at home. And this should not be a moment that Classic would move out. So I think this attack here is going to blindside him a little bit. Classic's going to have to stay back in this defensive position. Now, Classic's Blink is going to finish first. You might imagine where you saw the Stalkers here from Astrea that maybe Astrea would be ahead in Blink, but it's actually the other way around.
A couple of Stalkers going to get recalled back at home to defend against these Oracles here for Astrea, and that probe will go down, but at least it was able to get the Nexus planted on location before the Oracles were able to quickly dispatch it. Now, Blink, there's still a long time before Astrea's Blink is ready, and I'm looking at the minimap right now. Classic venturing forth with his Stalkers. He has a large window to get damage done, and let me tell you, Blink Stalkers, very good against Stalkers without Blink, so we're going to see if Astrea is actually able to defend this third base. As it looks right now, I would be surprised if this is anything other than a cancel, and if this third base does get canceled, Astrea, he's taken so much damage in terms of the Oracles killing probes, in terms of the Oracles stunning probes and preventing mining. Blink is now delayed. The third Nexus hasn't even begun here for Astrea.
Oh, wow, look at that. I didn't really appreciate how much that cybernetic score is sticking out. And Stalker versus Stalker, that's actually an extremely important tech building.
Yeah, also the pylon placement right now really complicates things for Astrea. The Stalkers cannot move between the Nexus and the pylon, so it's very awkward for Astrea to actually maneuver defensively on the high ground here.
How many Stalkers could you warp in? And with the time it would take for the cybernetic score to come back, I wonder.
It's a lot. I mean, look at the money floating right now.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yeah, so I wonder, can you just make enough Stalkers and then Blink on top of this and win the game?
It's getting close to that point, I think, Tasteless.
I've never actually thought about this. Whenever I see the cybernetic score going down, I always think, that's, sometimes I feel like as casters, we don't put that much emphasis on it, but really it is like a pivotal tech building when Stalker Blink is in place. So, yeah, maybe he can try to snowball this. I don't know.
Astrea, if he had unlimited production right now, could have made 10 more Stalkers. I mean, it's
crazy.
It's pretty absurd. What a difference that makes. Of course, he might not even have the gateway production cycles right now to get all of those warp-ins, but Oh, Classic just firing on all cylinders. Another cancel going to come in on this expansion, and Astrea has to try and find to work his way through the mineral fields. Classic's even going to take down this rock watchtower. It will disperse the mineral fields, but it creates just another barrier of entry here for Astrea, and he's just going to try and meet Classic head on right now with this Immortal. He needs to get this expansion, but no! Every Stalker blinks forward into the stasis trap, and Classic, I don't think he is going to let this opportunity go unseized. He is blinking forward, and Astrea is basically dead to rights, man.
Yeah, I think that could be fatal damage. And then he could run all the way through here into the main. He could just start to unpower anything that doesn't have enough pylons over it. And I think that's game. You know, it's funny. Basically, Classic just kept his third alive long enough and had really good tactics on the outside. The stun there on that stasis ward was too much damage, and that's going to be it. GG. Classic takes game 1 in a PvP I will never end up casting again.
Yeah, that was wonky.
Yeah. That was really a weird PvP.
The double shield battery and the mana pylon over at the natural wall in there for Astrea. Clearly, Classic wanted to try and get something done. If the shield battery is maybe like a touch faster, or if the pro pull, if there was one less pro pull to try and take on the pylon, maybe Classic could have made something happen. And that's the kind of situation where you look at it and you're like, well, his Nexus is done, yours is just now starting. You lost all the money from the pylon being dead, from the shield batteries getting canceled. You made a Zealot, which isn't really going to accomplish anything because the early and mid game is all based on Stalkers, right? And then somehow, just with the finesse micro of the Oracles, he's able to kill enough workers to equalize. So the faster Nexus no longer matters. And on top of that, the Stasis Trap got like 12 probes. And the main base, and then everything else just continued to pile on. The blink was like 40 seconds faster. He didn't miss that opportunity at all. He was able to cancel the third base twice on the back of that. The Oracle's using Revelation to get vision on the high ground and take down the core. I mean, the early game was so good for Astrea, but after like minute 4, it felt like Classic got the better end of literally every interaction.
Yeah, I mean, by the end, Classic just kind of had this position where there's no way Astrea is going to get out of his base. Seeing that core get sniped there was pretty painful as well. I mean, that just curbs the amount of Stalkers you can get out at that point in time. And that really compounded when the Stasis Ward trapped all those other Stalkers.
Yeah, Astrea was floating like 1,200, 1,300 minerals, 500, 600 gas. And you know that he'd rather be spending that money on securing the third base, getting Stalkers warped in, maybe even getting some upgrades, adding the Immortals, but no, the production just completely hamstrung there. Is Astrea, that game on Kill Switch is a map to forget. I think you just got to completely reset right now, try and win these next 2 games. Astrea is certainly capable of playing a much better map than he did there in game number 1, even against the likes of Classic. So map number 2, it is loaded up here on Botanical. Classic, the Red Protoss leading this series 1-0. Spawning is the Red Protoss in the bottom right. Astrea, the Blue Protoss in the top left.
And, I mean, we're going to have a better opening from Astrea 1,000% because I don't think a game can go worse than what happened back there. The Zealot, the Pylon thrown down, the battery, the Pylon then killed before the Zealot gets there to use the battery. I mean, it's very unusual that, you know, a build isn't much more mapped out than that. I mean, it's not like Classic did, you know, had some stroke of genius to just kill the pylon there, right? I mean, the moment you see the pylon, you go, okay, well, I got to get rid of this. He just does it and gets it.
Yeah. The fact that Classic went for that pylon and it still led to a mid game where he was just able to get so much damage done is phenomenal. But even then, maybe for Astrea, it was kind of an awkward thing too because you're not expecting to pull probes in a situation like that one as well. So even though on paper it's obviously really good for Astrea, there's something to be said about just making the situation very awkward, right? Because Astrea, he clearly didn't transition naturally from that into the mid game. I think he might have overestimated his position or underestimated Classic's position because the blink was so delayed, the third base was delayed. It's just a map to forget.
Yeah, I mean, just move on from there, right? I mean, you're going to have games like that. So for now, it's going to be very similar builds here, although it looks like we have the gas finishing a little bit quicker here for Astrea.
Yeah, both players opting for the really fast Nexus, which is pretty typical here when you ever have a high ground expansion map in PvP. And I'm trying to think of the ladder map pool right now, and I don't think we have that many high ground PvP maps. I know because I always try to veto them because I hate playing high ground PvP. But yeah, I suppose in RSL with Killswitch and Botanical, we have 2 more added into the mix. It's kind of interesting because this is something that is usually a more niche part of the PvP matchup in my experience, but it is on full display right now in this series.
In certain matchups, and PvP is one of them, with this little change in the geography, is it suddenly makes it very, very different what you can get away with in a wall-in, how hard it is to come down and claim your natural. Some maps you've got to fight for it, others you can sort of build infrastructure around it and ensure a safer expand, and that allows for a whole different array of opportunities later on. Classic's got a Stargate that's 75% complete. He's positioned it out here in the front, almost as part of the wall-in. And we don't have any definitive tech yet here from Astrea. He's spent his first chunk of gas here on the sentry and is making a second gateway. So we don't know what kind of tech we're going to have. And, you know, with Protoss, it's very sharp around the edges when you tech. You know, you're teching into a very specific direction.
I like the choice to go into a Twilight Council here, but it is surprising that it's coming in at a timing like this one. Usually people are very decisive when they come in with their tech choices. As this Adept actually getting so much damage done, Tasteless. I mean, it might not seem like it, but all of these probes being idled, 2 probes already going down. I mean, in a vacuum, if you get 2 probe kills, you are so happy as Classic, but to also get the idle time on the probes in the main base and the natural expansion. Oh my goodness, another Adept comes into the natural. This is just a disaster right now for Astrea.
Yeah, this is starting to add up. PvP, basically the most common thing that'll go wrong early is Adepts start to kill too many probes. Oh god. And
this is painful.
Okay. And
it almost feels like.
Can we get some Fs in the chat right now, guys?
This is just
some Fs in the chat. That's 12 probes killed. We're at 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, catching that Stalker, I guess, is really nice there for Astrea, but 12 probes killed. I don't even know if that's 12 probes additional to the initial 2 that went down, but in any case, Classic is up 7 workers right now.
And he's down, yeah, it's the 31 to 39, I guess 32 now, but look at the production tab and how much more is developing on Classic side of the map. And, I mean, this game will conclude one way or another, probably with a Classic victory, unless Classic really gets himself in trouble. Now we're going to get this number even lower. Yeah,
with 2 Oracles, you're able to negate the healing on the shield battery and just one-shot these probes with good micro. So 8 more go down. Stalker's out of position. The worker really just continues to compound right now. Astrea, he's struggling to saturate even the 2 bases that he's got. Look at that. 800 more minerals a minute for a moment there for Classic. It's starting to equalize now as Astrea resaturates the main base, but still, the difference is huge. We're talking about, like, what, 4 Stalkers per minute worth of money?
Yeah.
It's just it's a dramatic advantage for Classic at this moment.
Well, the Stalkers are going to come across the map here, and I don't... You know, the problem is when you're this behind as Astrea, there's not, like, necessarily one right way to play. You can just play from behind, and you're going to be underwater for most of the game. I guess he wants to see if maybe he can come through here and punish, and instead, he walks right into a trap. Reinforcements are going to try to come down. You really can't afford to lose this army. But this, there it is, GG.
Yeah, I mean, after that blink onto the stasis trap, Astrea just takes his hand off his mouse and keyboard.
I'm like, well, when they cut your head off, all the blood in your body comes out, and you need blood? Ooh. Your body needs it or you die, and that's kind of what we saw there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Classic to advance. I know Astrea is much better at PvP. That was, I think, maybe the kind of situation, we've all been there where, like, say one game, things just don't go to plan, and then it just feels like you are just completely knocked off balance. Because Astrea, I have seen him be much more tight on the defense in situations like that one. He is easily capable of holding on in those early games, but just something about Classic in this best of 3, he got under the skin of Astrea, he was able to find the openings, and every single opportunity was seized. It's not like Astrea had any breaks go his way. It's just Classic did not shy away from capitalizing. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. I don't really blame Astrea for trying to move out and trying to get something done, because he knows, like, I am in so much trouble. Maybe I can catch the Oracles. Maybe the Stalkers are more spread out. Maybe Blink's not done. But he steps right into a Sentry Ward, and that was going to be fatality there. So we are halfway through the RSL group stages. We finished Group D and Group B because we started the season off here with Group D. Tomorrow is going to be Group C, and then we will wrap it up on Sunday night with Group A before we go to the bracketed portion of the tournament, which is really the majority of what RSL is. We're on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so if you're joining us live right now, come back tomorrow. Come back the next day. If you can't join us live, maybe you're watching on YouTube, maybe you're watching live now, but you go, man, I got something going on. Okay, loser. Well, you can still join us on YouTube, all right? Because we've got an amazing YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube. It's at Revive SC2. That's the easiest way to search for it. I feel like I've learned this recently, by the way, the et and then the channel name. Did everybody else know this but me? Okay.
Our producer is nodding, but I also didn't know
I
this
didn't know about
tasteless.
that.
I'm going to out myself.
I always had to search
we're
for,
getting
like,
out of touch.
Yeah.
We're actually struggling. We have a PC, or not a PC, obviously a PC's here in the studio. We have a TV in the studio. We're struggling for a long time to try and get a StarCraft stream set up on it.
Yeah.
Casting it onto the TV. So yeah, our technical know-how isn't that high, but that's why it's a whole team here at the RSL.
If it's not a build order, we're in trouble, okay? But please join the YouTube. We want to keep growing that thing. Thank you to Archon Studio. They are the tabletop miniatures game sponsor for the RSL, but they're also making this amazing tabletop game you got to see for StarCraft. It's going to be on pre-sale close to the end of this year. We don't have the exact dates, but it looks amazing. And also, everything on their site is awesome. They've got all sorts of tabletop miniature game stuff for a whole bunch of different great franchises outside of the StarCraft universe. Definitely some great Christmas gifts as we're getting closer and closer.
Yeah, that's right. And I've never had a tabletop miniatures game for anything. I've always... People in my realm, like people that I know, have been doing it, but it's never something I've gotten into. But the fact that we getting something for StarCraft like this, I am definitely going to be picking that up because I love StarCraft. I love memorabilia revolving around StarCraft. So
well, they're the premier, tabletop miniatures game company in the world.
Yeah,
so like their stuff really
this.
is the best.
It's
yeah,
impressive.
So we're very, very grateful they contacted us to sponsor the tournament. You can also sponsor our tournament. Go to patreon.com/Revive SC2. If you want to sign up for a tier, we give you, I was going to say participation points. That doesn't sound right. We give you voting rights on maps, on guest players. If you're a high enough tier, you can get a free ticket to our live finals, or I guess end of the year big match that we're going to be having. Mm-hmm. But yeah, consider signing up. This is, where StarCraft II is. This is kind of the whole nature, though, of where content creation has gone, is it's a lot more about crowdfunding. We're no longer able to rely on Blizzard for publisher support, which was how the majority of StarCraft was supported here. So we want to keep this thing going in a state that is, going to be awesome and going to be something that we can keep doing year after year. So anyways, consider signing up. We would love to earn your support. We've also got hoodies, we've got mugs, we've got T-shirts and pins. And it's all 20% off if you're a Patreon member. If you want to just get the merch, that's fine too.
Yeah. Nice little discount right there. And of course, without your support on Patreon, watching on Twitch, watching on YouTube, supporting the RSL, we would not be able to do this because we now have an offline finals coming to you live in December 2025. Tasteless is scouting around for studios.
That's right.
Trying to find the proper venue for our tournament. But that means players in the studio, audience in the studio, casters in the studio, a full live production. I am so excited for this. I mean, StarCraft... LAN events, live events, these big stages are something that I've been living in as a fan, as a player, as a caster. They make dreams come true, man. There's something magical, and I'm so thrilled that we're going to have that for RSL. Yeah.
We wanted to have this kind of mini studio where we produce this stuff and make it kind of streamlined and slick and functional, so that we can do this regularly like we're doing now. Like, this is a 12-day season. We're going to have another 12-day season later on in the year. But we also wanted to use a portion of the Patreon budget to, rent out a big space. And, this is kind of, we have these events all over the world, or we've had them in StarCraft, where, people all come together in a big venue. But Korea is kind of where this all started, and they've got a whole bunch of really good spaces. So we're going to look and see which one makes sense. And if you want to come out to Seoul or you're already in Korea, you want to come see the matches live, we'll be having tickets for that too. So we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love you. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.